What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday evening where we will be discussing the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie that just released, I think this weekend, Thursday, Friday. So we will be discussing that. It's going to be a spoiler review, full-blown spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you go see it and then come back to this. Or if you don't care and you're not planning on watching it and you just want it all spoiled, this is the place to be because we will be discussing a lot of details about this movie, including what we like, what we didn't like, all that good stuff. Before we get into any of that, I'm going to start saying hello to my panel. Thank you for joining me. And also everybody in the audience, please smash the like, share the stream, all that good stuff, so we get more people in here and talking about this movie. And we have with us tonight Stephanie, my nerdy home. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm ready to talk about this movie.
Yay! This is gonna be good. It's gonna be exciting. Tom and we're already getting into a heated debate in the back. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And speaking of which, how are you, Tom?
I'm okay. I just don't want to have to get into an argument with you.
Oh no, we're getting into it, and I'm good with it. I'm fully prepared to argue, but at the same time, I feel like this needs to be said. Tom and I work together very closely on Monday nights. We're on Toxic Them, and I respect Tom greatly, and I think that this kind of debate is very it's a lost art in a way because I feel like everyone gets so sensitive nowadays, and they think that their opinion is just like there's nothing that can be said or unsaid or whatever. But I feel like everything here is in good fun. We're good friends. So whatever we say or we don't say, it's fine. You love it, you don't love it, that's totally fine. Right, Tom? Like everything's good.
Can I say this much? It wasn't made for you, Nina.
Oh, that's totally fine.
That's fighting words right out the bat.
That's totally fine. I accept that. I accept that. But by the end of this, how about this? By the end of this, if I convince you that this movie was trash, will you admit that it was?
Yeah, but I don't know if you can convince me of that.
Okay. All
That's
right,
going to be a very tall fucking order because this, I'll tell you right off the bat, this movie was almost like a religious experience for me, and I'm sure it will be for a lot of guys my age, in a lot of ways. So, I mean, I just don't foresee you shaking that foundation, right? What we can see.
Yeah, I mean, we can see, right? At least maybe I'll change your mind about a couple of things here and there, or at least make you think. My idea for having this discussion to actually to clarify, my idea to having the stream is not even to change your mind. I don't want to change your mind. If you love it, you love it. I really that's totally fine. But it made me think about things, and I want to express my view. So I don't want to convince you that it was not good. That's not my intention. I want to explain from my point of view why it is the way it is. But yeah, so it's not everything is okay. By the end of it, Tom and I are still going to be friends, maybe.
I don't care enough about a movie to end a friendship over it. That's the difference between me and most SJWs.
Exactly. We're not like that. Speaking of not being an SJW and going at it with SJWs for the last few days, Script Doctor, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I was going at it with SJWs.
Nah, he was just arguing with people who just don't understand the fundamentals of filmmaking and writing and storytelling.
Yeah, speaking of that, I do want to bring that up at the end of this stream. So at the end of the stream, if you want to stick around, we are going to take a few minutes to kind of go through some of those responses and kind of just talk about why Script Doctor said what he said and some of the absolute goldmine responses that have come from that. I was highly entertained on Twitter by Script Doctor. So we're going to talk about that as well. But how are you, Script Doctor?
I'm doing great. I've had it's been a busy weekend. I've been building furniture. My girlfriend bought some furniture, so I've been on building duty for that. So I managed to see this movie. I didn't think I was going to be able to. Managed to pull that off, and I'm happy to talk about it with all of you wonderful people. I think this is the first time I've been streaming with my nerdy home, so I'd like to be say, hey, how's it going?
Yay, that's cute. Did you hear that, Steph? She doesn't seem to care very much.
That's fine.
Stephanie's just like, okay.
I didn't hear. What did he say?
She was talking all kinds of smack about you. I heard it.
Oh my
I'm
god.
a witness.
Apparently, you two have a boxing match scheduled next month.
And Jello's involved.
Oh, me and Nina?
No.
Sure.
See, you know what we're talking about.
Oh my god, Stephanie. Script Doctor just said, I've never streamed with you people. Hi, how are you, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're
What do you
absolutely
mean,
right.
you
We've never
people?
streamed together. This is proof of that. You don't know that I kind of zone out sometimes.
Yeah, apparently so.
Well,
But yeah, I'm doing really good. Thank you. I'm sorry.
oh my goodness, it's all good. So we're learning about stuff about each other as well on this panel, so you can see how amazing the show is already going to be. So now we know that Steph zones out once in a while. It's perfect. Good to know. And then we have, of course, Script Doctor. Did you finish what you were going to say?
Yes.
Your YouTube stuff. Yeah, he's on YouTube. Everybody's information is in the description down below. So make sure you are subscribed to everybody. And then we have Jayne. Hello, Jayne. How are you?
Hello, I'm fantastic. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And Jayne, did you want to tell everybody where they can find you? And I know you put out a spoiler-free review.
I did.
Ghostbusters.
I did. You can find me here on YouTube where I post movie and television reviews. You can also catch me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jayne Theory. And I did just drop a spoiler-free review of Ghostbusters, but I'm here for the spoilers today.
Excellent. And then, of course, we are joined by the one and only George.
Hi, everybody.
George.
He has a
Tom,
beautiful
Jayne.
soul. He's got a beautiful soul.
Beautiful.
I feel like I'm not alone so much anymore because I know Steph said that she found the movie just okay. I know George has some spicy takes, so I think we're gonna get along just fine here,
Oh, yeah.
George. So we kind of got like the lovers on the bottom of the panel here, and we've got the naysayers over
So we
on the top.
do we have to hold you guys up for your opinions?
Yes, that's
Always.
exactly what's going on. You know what's
All
funny,
right,
by
that's
the
fair.
way? You know what's funny, by the way? Like my mom, I was talking to her earlier tonight, and she's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch your stream," even though she's not really into Ghostbusters or anything. But then she went, "Is Script Doctor gonna be there?" And I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it."
The
So,
ladies like him.
Script Doctor, my mom's a huge fan.
Oh, thank you, Nina's mom.
Yeah, she's watching right
He's
now.
such
So
a
say
nice
hello.
boy. You should bring him home. He's such a nice boy.
Oh my god. Can I also compliment? I love your outfit, Script Doctor. 100%. This is
Thanks. It's got my name on it too and everything.
wow.
That's so cool.
Wow,
That's
is
great. That's great. Valiant Renegades in the house sends $10 saying, "Oh, that's where Tom went." Winking face, LOL. Hail Nina, Steph, Script, and Jayne. I'll say lurking in here and chat. Wish I could listen, but we'll catch the replay. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Love you, Valiant Renegade. Shout out to Valiant. Everybody subscribe to him. Amazing dude. So thank you. Hold on. Hold the phone. This is inaccurate.
That's fighting words right there.
I
That
actually
is-
watched that piece of shit this morning.
Oh,
I did
wow.
not. I've never watched it.
Oh, I've seen it
never
twice
watched
You
now.
like it.
But I watched the theatrical cut this morning because my brain, like out of self-defense, made me forget almost the entire movie. And Andre wants to review the extended cut. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm going to have to familiarize myself with the piece of shit to begin with so I can remember what was different
Why
in
you
this other
hated it.
version.
Yeah.
No, well, more so just what's different.
Right.
And yeah.
And
So
yeah.
at least sound somewhat educated on it, because otherwise all I remember is they killed Bill Murray. That's all I remember.
Oh my God.
And they shot
did?
the bad guy in the dick. That's all I remember. That's all I really remembered
so
before this
stupid.
morning. And then this morning was like a traumatic experience. I have PTSD right now.
Oh wow.
Just bear with me on that one.
I like how you call it
did-
PTSD. Star Trek
It is.
Discovery.
I got
I
so
think
used to saying that during Discovery. I apologize.
No, I think that's the one good thing Afterlife did. You know, it put a boot in the ass of Feige's. You know, what is it that he put a boot in the ass of his vagenda disaster. So I didn't really. I couldn't
His
stand it.
vagenda? His
Vagenda?
vagenda? I like that word, George.
I've
You just
never
invented a
heard that
word.
before.
I can't
That was
stand
good.
Ghostbusters 2016. I wish it was great. I want every movie to be great. But you know,
I
when
do
they put that crap forward, it's like, what are you thinking? And then blaming all the fans. It's like,
What's
okay.
sad about that movie I was watching this morning is they had potential.
They
And
did.
actually, I love the production design in this movie, in the 2016 film. They did an amazing job with the production design. Like, it looks beautiful. Like, the designs of everything, the colors, like all that kind of business I had no problem with. It was everything around it otherwise. Like, it
I
had
didn't
such a
even like-
agenda.
I didn't even like the design of it.
You didn't
It
like
was
the
way
design
too
of it?
colorful. It
I mean-
wasn't like the original. You know, it was kind of like it's kind of dreary. It wasn't-
Muted.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
very
get you.
muted. Exactly.
Muted, yeah.
But this was my
agree.
point, is that it differentiated itself in that respect, right? Like, I kind of liked that aspect. It wasn't until near the end where it's like just basically CGI vomit on the screen, literally.
Yeah.
Then it got to that point. But like those first few shots in that museum, like that feels like something almost out of a Ghostbuster movie.
Right.
Like I could have bought that for the beginning of any Ghostbuster movie. I would have been fine with. It's once you
No,
get past
even
that point. Yeah.
But the ghost was like bright blue.
Yeah, that's what
Tina's-
I'm saying. Like once you get to
Mhm.
that, it sucks. Like
You
it's like now we're
I-
getting into fake shit.
Now
so
it's
Yeah.
Disney
yeah.
Ghost, like a Haunted
Exactly.
Mansion.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Haunted
Yeah.
Mansion, yeah.
Leading
I
up to
think,
that part, it's fucking
it didn't
terrifying.
It showed like I don't know. The first Ghostbusters, you could really tell like this is New York City. It's muggy as hell. It's muted. It's New York, dirty.
Mhm.
Yeah,
you know,
felt like you were
kinda
there. It
grimy.
felt
Grimy.
real.
That's because, as we've talked about many a time, the first film wasn't shot like a comedy. It was shot like action
Horror?
/ horror film.
Mhm.
And that's why I think Script and I were just talking about this last night, why we think a lot of people didn't like the second one so much, outside of just the fact that it retreaded a lot of the same ground, is it's not shot the same way. It's shot
Right.
like a comedy. And that's why I think people are like, it's not as funny. It's like, no, not really. Actually, it's just as funny. If not, maybe there's more funny lines in the second film, but your expectations are so high.
Right.
And the way it's shot and scored and all these other things is not at all like the first film. The first film takes it all very seriously. The
Mhm.
humor comes out of, the dry delivery and certain characters like Lewis and stuff like that, and the natural reactions people would have to these real phenomena. And they treat the ghosts dead ass serious, right? Like
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
none of them are a joke outside of Slimer.
Right.
Like he's the only one who's kind of an in joke, right? Like
Yeah.
outside of
Right.
and I felt like the ghosts were handled the same way here in Afterlife.
I would
That's-
agree
yeah,
with that.
I did.
with the
I think that
ghosts.
too a little bit about Afterlife, because I've never seen 2016, so I don't actually have an opinion to share about.
You mean you don't
2016.
love it like
We
the
could be here
Chaz does?
forever on
But
how
that's one of
much
the
is wrong with that
criticisms.
movie.
That's one of the criticisms people had, though, is that it took itself too seriously. And I'm like, well, that's kind of how it started.
Mhm.
So what is the criticism here?
Right.
What,
I haven't-
which
Pure
one took
comedy?
itself too seriously?
Yeah,
this one,
2016 or this
Afterlife.
one?
Afterlife.
Afterlife?
Oh.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
haven't heard that criticism.
I haven't heard that either, but I can
haven't
see
heard
where
that,
that's coming from. I can see where it's coming. The problem with 2016 is at least Afterlife did not make the mistake of 2016, nor did it do what Eternals did. Like Eternals, I saw a lot of rich ground where in better hands, that could have been a great 4 or 5 films. But Afterlife, serious? I don't know. I haven't seen that. What do they mean by that, Jayne?
I think they just felt it wasn't as comedic as it could have been because a lot of the humor was drier humor.
Okay.
But that's,
Yeah,
to me,
there
is
was a lot of
consistent with
dad
Ghostbusters.
jokes and stuff like that. It
Yeah,
was
stuff like that.
oh.
I
Well,
felt it
that's
was
the
more
problem.
like Goonies. It was more
Yeah.
for kids instead of adults. Ghostbusters, the original to the 84, felt to me like it was for adults, and kids went
Right.
along kind of
Yes.
like got it. But this one was like it's for the kids, and maybe adults get it, at least from my
Mm.
perspective.
That's
It
what
was-
I
it was
thought too.
Stranger
I thought
Things.
this is a
Interesting.
kids movie. That's what
It
I
was
thought.
Stranger
I thought.
Things.
It was
Yeah.
Stranger Things. It was Stranger
don't
Things,
feel like
but
it-
even more kiddie because Stranger Things was like way darker
But
because you had like actual
exactly.
death
Well,
and shit
people
like that.
forget that Ghostbusters is rated PG. All of them have been, and I'm not even sure why this one is PG-13. Like I really am stretching to find the
I
reason.
think the reason it's PG-13 is because there's a couple of times where
Did
they
she
swear.
split the body in half?
Yeah, but like
Right.
none of the things in this movie are any worse than some of the other. Like it's very
Yeah,
tame in comparison.
That's
And again,
weird.
I
Different
have no
culture.
issue with Ghostbusters being family friendly. It always has been.
Right.
That's not a
No,
problem.
that's not my issue with it.
See, I feel
That's not my
Goonies.
issue.
And I
with it
don't. I
either.
didn't get the vibe of Stranger Things. I got more of a Karate Kid meets Goonies meets Ghostbusters.
See, I
vibe.
got the Goonies and Stranger.
I
a
got
little
me
bit of
too.
Monster Squad in there.
Yeah,
And see,
would
I
agree
felt
with
it
that.
was like Nickelodeon.
Oh my god!
Ghostbusters.
I thought it was an after-school special at some parts.
Yeah, a little bit.
Exactly for kids. That's why I kept. To me, I love the beginning. I love the last 10 minutes. The rest of it, I just besides Paul Rudd a few times, I was like, I want to get out of here.
Well, I felt
yeah.
like it was more of a
So,
family
George,
movie.
I'm
And
actually-
that speaks to the
Sorry.
pacing of this movie. The pacing of this movie is kind of like it reels you in at the beginning,
Yep.
and then you're meeting these new characters, and it's kind of like, okay.
Well,
Kind of like a stop and go type of thing.
yeah.
It's very stop and go. When it stops, then they throw in some fan service, and I don't care. Big fan of fan service. I love
Yeah.
fan service.
Oh, me too.
However, it shouldn't be relied upon. The story itself should be able to stand on its own without the fan service. So, like, if we take all that fan service out, does the story on its own stand on its own? You know what I mean?
I think we need to establish what fan service is first. I think that's where we all have a fundamental, probably, difference of what we think of. Because let's be real, if this movie was all fan service, it would have been all the old Ghostbusters from beginning to end. Right?
No,
Like that's
see,
what all the
fan
true
service-
I
fans
would've
actually
liked that.
disagree with you. I disagree
Fan
with
service
you on
to
that.
me is not the boy finding the Echo One. That's not fan service. Fan service to me is the tiny marshmallow men coming out of nowhere. It's just
I don't think
inserted
that's
for
fan service. I
absolutely no
consider
reason.
that. No, see, I
So
don't.
I think
consider
that's
that fan
nostalgia.
service.
Do you consider nostalgia stuff to be Nerdy Home? Do you consider it to be fan service nostalgia? I guess we have to lay down what we all think of what
See,
is
that's
fan
where I'm
service, what's
differentiating
nostalgia.
too. Yeah.
'Cause
See,
I
now
don't
me,
know.
I don't think that's nostalgia. See, that's kind of like fan service. Like, there was a reason for the Stay Puft
100-foot
Marshmallow
tall
Man.
steak. Yeah.
Right.
There was a reason for that in the first movie. Here, it's kind of like, all right,
well,
they came
here
to life.
they're
why?
mixing.
Why them type of thing?
Well,
Yeah,
I
But why
get
did they
it
come to life? I don't understand
because it's
that.
just like it's the Dana scene. This is the thing. Like, it's much like the Dana scene when she was possessed. Right.
Right.
The eggs started to come alive on the counter. So just like that, Paul Rudd is seeing these things come alive right in front of him, and it's not just that. You know, he sees the terror dog and stuff like that. So
And that's it. It's just the terror dog and these.
Which also,
Marshmallow
again,
Men.
made absolutely no sense because he walks into an almost closed Walmart. It's like in the middle
It's
of
empty.
the night.
I've never seen a Walmart, and I've
because
been
they
in
live
some
in the
small
middle
towns.
of fucking nowhere.
I've been in some
trust me.
small towns. Now, I've been in some 2-road towns that still have a Walmart and still have people there.
Yeah, there's people
That's
there,
the
but then
only store.
and nobody else was running, and nobody else was like there was not even a cashier. You don't
Yeah,
hear
there's
like
no
there's
employees
nobody
there.
around, and then there's a dog inside. There's a monster dog inside the Walmart that chases. I was like, what is happening?
There was something
right now?
weird with that. Like, it was a very sparsely packed Walmart, and we only heard one scream.
Yeah,
And
You guys
Which
never
was the
lived
lone
in small
cashier that
fucking
we never
towns,
saw.
have you?
I mean, I lived in a small town, but I never had a Walmart in it.
Well,
I
I've been to plenty
go
of
to
Walmarts with
small
only where I'm
towns
the only
almost
one there.
every week, and it has a Walmart, and there's people there. It's a very small town.
I
There's
can name 2 cities right now where I've been to Walmart multiple times where I've been the only one there, and try finding a cashier or a blue person.
and okay, that's fair. That's
Think
fair,
so.
Tom.
It could have
That's
been
fair,
better
Tom, but you won't
shot
see a
if you had the
giant,
strength.
like a giant demon dog inside the store, and then hear nothing.
Well, we didn't
like-
expect to see a giant demon dog in Dana's apartment either.
That's also.
But if you had a bunch of people running through the store and then having Paul go through and look
Or
and
catching
then
up to
see it,
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
as the
Or
dog
catch
is
up,
chasing
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yes.
that would
Yes.
have been a little bit better, yeah.
Mayor McCheese, thank you so much for the $5. Says this film was a love letter that we needed, but if there's a sequel that can't be a love letter to move forward, the next film needs to be like The Dark Knight of Ghostbusters.
I agree with that.
that's
I agree
interesting.
that this was a love letter.
Mhm.
This was a love letter for fans, like of Ghostbusters. You know, I agree with that 100%. I can see this movie being a love letter to the Ghostbusters. You know, it was it paid homage to the characters. It did it very respectfully. You leave the movie feeling so good. Like this.
I didn't.
I did.
I did.
The last 25 minutes, I was just like, this is beautiful. This is
See, the thing
outstanding.
is, for me, is I felt like when we're talking fan service, I expected to go in and see a movie where I would see the main cast of Ghostbusters training the new Ghostbusters and passing the buck, not them showing up for the last 5 minutes.
That
we did get it.
Like,
that got me. That got me.
This is where I think people are disagreeing. And Harold Ramis is walking her through this whole thing, through the entire movie. That's where I think people are like talking this Mary Sue stuff and all. No. Her grandpa is teaching her everything the whole way. This would be like,
okay, now I have to disagree with you.
He's not.
I have to disagree with you there because when you meet this little girl, she's pretty much an electrician.
So,
and then after that, she's a locksmith because she's
a locksmith.
Okay, here's my point with this.
And
people have been
she's a scientist. After that, she's a scientist. She's a self-proclaimed scientist. After that, she is a seismologist. After that, you know, she's
okay.
First of all, she's the only thing that she cannot do is tell jokes.
But everything you just described, everything you just described is related to her science background, though.
Right.
Exactly. I was just going to explain that. Like, first of all, plenty of I know.
And I feel like you're explaining it away, but go ahead.
Listen to me. This is not abnormal. Kids, if they're interested in something, will get into it.
Right.
And if you have a mother like that, like I'm sure like Phoebe was like, how does this work? She's like, I don't know. Fucking look it up, Phoebe. Because she is not in any way, shape, or form able to handle
nurturing.
Yeah. Not even nurturing or able to handle Phebe's like intelligence, right? She's a phenom. She's
right. I get
that. Everybody pause, because this is where
they show her working on it.
My
they show
initial
her
problem with
and
the
everything.
movie.
Right.
She's got a deadbeat mom.
Right.
A mom that doesn't know what the hell's going on half the time. She's not educated. She's losing money, whatever. Like
doesn't have a job.
Doesn't have a job. She's whatever. She got a deadbeat dad. We're told she's got a deadbeat dad.
We're told. We don't know the whole true story there.
But that's what we're told. That's what the audience is told. The audience is told that the dude is a dirtbag.
We're also told through the whole movie, so is Harold Ramis.
Hold on.
Right.
We're told that she had a son with him. He was okay with the son until the daughter came along and she was way too weird and way too much of a handful, so he took off.
Yeah, that told didn't sit well with me.
Okay, that is, to me, the theme of this movie. The entire movie was men and masculinity suck. That's exactly what it is.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that because the Egon stuff got wrapped up.
I got it too.
Yeah, and on top of that, the only man in the movie, which would be the son, got a job to support the family.
Right. See,
he got his job chasing tail.
Yeah, I would say they started portraying
but that's a motivation for men all the time, though.
Right.
Well, why do you need money? Well, to get tail.
Right. See, I didn't get the whole.
Well, I didn't even get to finish my point earlier, but
okay, go ahead.
Well, look, I actually know a family that was a lot like this growing up. The mom was never home because she was always working. You had the oldest son, who was generally the one who would handle like a lot of that kind of crap. Like if the car broke down, he was the one fixing it. If there was something wrong with the plumbing, he was the one fixing it. You know how he learned all this shit? By fucking reading. And that's what they show Phoebe doing. She is a reader. She is somebody who takes her time instead of having friends.
There's so much you can learn from reading. There comes a point.
Oh my God! What do you think you do in school?
Have someone teach you these things. Like
everything.
You know, she also screwed up and she cut the power to the apartment while the landlord was there.
She's not great.
Didn't actually do it properly.
But also, the things that she knew in terms of science were not particularly complicated.
Right.
That's true.
This like being able to understand a seismograph. You can do that at 12.
Yeah, you can do that.
I didn't have a problem with her. I didn't see her as a Mary Jane. I saw it in the end. I saw a lot of that in the end. Like when she picked up the blaster, she picked it up, and immediately when she was practicing, she hit it. And then you had in the end scene where You literally have the Trevor, you have the boy who's, they're in the fight with Gozer, and all of a sudden it's like they need his blaster, his proton, and it's like click, click, click. And I know they showed the story with podcast in the back. But it goes to that subtle context. What Hollywood does.
Then the black girl comes out of nowhere and shoots the gun, even though she's never used a gun before.
Right. So I didn't think Phoebe was the Mary Sue, at least for me. And that I disagree with y'all. I think it was other people. And then I thought they basically shit on Trevor.
Lucky,
going back to that
girl,
trope. Right.
Yeah, the girl, Lucky. She was kind of more of the Mary Sue. She was way confident in there, and then she just knew how to use the Ghostbusters.
She knew how to use everything without even training.
I think everything was very convenient. It's convenient that she even, wanted to go along with them, because why? Yeah. She hardly even knew that.
I said there's a good chunk missing there, and this is one of my biggest points with the film, is you have right leading up to the third act, there's three things that happen too fast in sequential for my mind to be able to go, okay, I believe that. And that is, them getting the proton pack working, meeting up with Muncher, and him getting the car all fixed all at the same time is a little too convenient. Like I point out that there's scenes in the first film where they split it up for a good reason, and I see they should have done the same thing here. You should have had him fix the car first, driving around first, and then them playing around with the proton pack in the background, cutting that up with Paul Rudd and the mother and doing other stuff, so it feels like it's a little bit longer, right?
It feels like more time is passing.
Yes.
Like when they're setting up the glasses and then she blows them all up, it's like, okay, let's try it again. And it's like, this time let's get a further target or something, And
as far as the other characters are concerned, that just goes to the lack of development of those characters. They were focusing so much on the grandchildren that they didn't really get into the relationship between the brother and the girlfriend or the
and that is a point where I said too, the girlfriend needed to go. She didn't need to fucking be there. They should have had they should have had more of a relationship between Trevor and the mom, so we understood what was going on there. That was my other point of contention, because I agree with you, Nina. Like, we're only given so much to go by, but we're given enough that we could believe that maybe she was the fucking problem, and that's why
I can see that. Right.
Like, she's a deadbeat. She doesn't want to do anything and all that kind of shit. She's got the kids taking care of her at that point. Yeah. Like, I mean, there may be more context that we didn't get, and I know that's not a fair thing to assess because we don't have it to go by. But my point was, though, is she's not a perfect mother. I mean,
which is shocking for Hollywood lately,
But you don't have to be a perfect mother in order to
she's not a perfect mother. She's a struggling mother, and
but they portray her realistically.
She did portray her realistically. She's a struggling mother who blames a lot of her problems on her father not being there. So that right there, that goes with fine. That flows with the story. I have no problem with that. My problem comes with the fact that, a lot of this story hinges on the girl, Phoebe, the little one. And a lot of it, I was just kind of like, I just don't buy it.
You didn't connect as well. What are you saying? You didn't connect?
Understandable.
Where you're going to say, like, okay, well, Egon. And the thing that I absolutely love is that Egon is present throughout the entire movie. We see him from beginning to end.
His spirit,
he is a presence in the whole movie. And yes, he helped her fix the proton pack, which is something that she's never seen before. However, when she's looking at this proton pack, she picks it up and she's like, this needs this. Yeah. Oh, hey, look, this needs this. Where's this at?
That did take me out for a moment, because again, you're not a physicist. Just like you're 12. I don't care what kind of a genius you are. You're 12.
Okay, but let me tell you something.
And you can't be like, well, she's Egon's granddaughter, because I've heard a lot of people tell me that.
No, that's not even what I was going to say.
A lot of people
I was
going to
say, okay, this is to me, it's no different than taking a kid now who is used to using a computer now and putting him in front of an Apple II, and they can figure out how to hack into the fucking Pentagon with the goddamn thing.
Yeah, but they don't open up the computer and know how to fix it, Tom.
A lot of times they could.
They don't open up the computer and know how to fix both computers. That's my problem with this.
No, we actually did that in grade school. We got to open up computers, and we learned how to fix them just by troubleshooting and experimentation.
Yeah, but they don't do that anymore in school.
I don't think they do that current days anymore. No.
Yeah. I just don't
I got a networking license in high school, like an A+
license in high school.
Hold on, hang on, everybody, 1 second.
Yeah, sorry.
Phoebe even points out that school sucks. So that's her basically saying she's been self-taught all these years.
Exactly.
everybody.
Which is
Tom,
not
one
unusual
second.
for a high IQ kid.
No. I
Yeah,
agree with
Jayne, I was
that.
gonna ask what you were saying because you kind of got drowned out.
No,
What were you saying?
I was just saying I didn't see anything that she was doing as particularly remarkable. With the skill set she had, assuming that she's always been interested in science and math and things of that nature, she
Mhm.
would be able to figure these things out. This is old technology. So it doesn't make any sense for her to be like, oh my God, this thing, I have no idea.
You're
No,
actually a
she
little
is
bit
a
wrong about
genius.
that because old technology is really, really difficult for new younger generations to learn. Like, have you ever seen
Not
those
if you
like
have a 145 IQ.
yeah, dude, if you see those kids, like those genius kids, like even on YouTube that are trying to figure out what a tape recorder is or what a Walkman is, and they can't figure it out, and these are like genius kids that are like in school. So
I don't believe
there
them.
is a lost in translation thing when it comes to even technology when it's older and they don't know and they've never seen it before. So there is that aspect of it, but I still say my biggest problem with this movie was the underlying messages, and the
There you
underlying
go.
messages was that this movie was surrounding a deadbeat father.
That
In
I don't agree with.
in
I
two
don't
different
agree with it
I don't agree
occasions,
with that.
they're saying that Egon took everything and left and went, and he left his family and he didn't care about her. And the only thing we see
That
in
was
the end
her
is that he
perspective,
had like
though.
this wall of pictures of her, and that what somehow forgives him being an absentee father for like her
No, he
entire life.
sacrificed. We learned
Yeah.
in the story that it was a
Right, for the end of the
sacrifice.
world.
It all
Exactly.
wraps
How?
up for it all wraps
How?
up for everybody at the end. That all wraps
Right.
up. Like I had a problem with it too. I really did. I was like, oh, come on. Are they really treating him like fucking Solo? Deadbeat.
Right.
No.
They were going. I could see where they were going with that.
I could see,
I didn't
but
get the same thing, but I saw.
yeah, I
see what
could
you're
see
saying.
that. I was just like, no way. They're not going to do that. Not to Spangler, right? But then it wraps up at the very end
Right.
because, the Ghostbusters, they come in and they see him and they realize what he's trying to do, what he was trying to do, that he was actually the hero, really sacrificing a lot of things, sacrificing being present in his family's life, sacrificing the friends that he had for a bigger cause because nobody would listen to him.
Yeah,
So
and
I understand.
and that is my second problem, Stephanie. The very idea that he was saying that all my friends, after he's gone through this entire thing of New York and like all this stuff, that all of his friends would just be like, "Oh yeah, we don't believe you, and
Well,
we
because
think you're a
Ray
lunatic."
Ray described it as there, we fixed it. There are no ghosts. We haven't had
Right.
hauntings in a while. But now it kind of sounded like he was going crazy because he wanted the ghost to come back. He wanted something. So I could get that from like Ray's point of view. Like, dude, there's nothing, like this business is going under. We're moving forward. Don't stay here. You know what I mean? And then he up and picks up everything because nobody is listening to him.
But
So
that's
I
the
can
thing,
and
Stephanie.
Egon-
What kind of message are we sending to children when we're saying that even if your best friend is sure of something, even after you've been through the supernatural together and some things happen, and he had the vision and foresight in the previous movies to create all this, to see all this, even after all of that, we're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. We're just going to call him this crazy guy to a point where the guy actually leaves his entire family and his friends to go and do this. You wouldn't think, okay, maybe if he's my friend, I would question that. I would be like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's
Ray
The part-
describes
still
it.
calling
Ray
each other
describes it
after
as
the fact.
Ray described it as like a lunatic rambling.
Right.
That's what he
He
describes it
did.
as.
And sorry to interrupt this, but I think they could have fixed that a little bit more if basically Ray's perspective on that argument was we destroyed the Gozer dimension when we crossed the streams, and Egon is saying no, we didn't. So now you have that divide. That would have been a far easier way to make them on each side. Fortunately, we didn't get that. However, what was really fascinating, one thing that I really liked is that Egon is a very logical person. And in his actions to do this, he's like, I'd rather have my friends and my daughter hate me, knowing that what I'm going to do will make them have
Save
a
the
whole
world.
life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's like, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. And that's kind of what is implied through this movie is like,
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe it does break his heart if he feels like he has a heart for Egon, but
Right.
I'd rather have them hate me and live a full life than love me for only the very short time because I didn't act to try and save the world.
Right. The part that got me where you're segueing in, where you talked about where they were across the streams, because the beginning, it pulled me right in. I fell asleep a lot during the middle, not literally asleep, but
Wow.
it was a mess. The ending is what started. When I saw the Ghostbusters, the original, show up, I felt like a 12-year-old again. And right up until the moment, they have Gozer there. They start to cross all the streams, and Gozer starts entangling me like, okay, something different. You're sitting there on the edge of your seat, and then they crap out. And then you get that 10-second scene where it's just the girls, the 12-year-old saving them before they pause and you see Egon. So I'm like, so the 12-year-old is now saving the professionals who I've waited to see this entire film. Was one of the
and then you see Egon, and that was really sweet. But the one thing I didn't understand though was where the hell did they get the guns? Because I thought the guy took off and stole everything. So
that
they
part
just
really
showed up
didn't-
with their own
That's movie. I give that to like movie magic, like bullets. They never
I'm
run
sure
out
they had
kind of-
at least a few extra packs, but the point was he took a majority of their shit.
Even
and
though
just
he
took
was
off.
crazy and took them all, but I'm sure they had a few just lying
Well,
around.
You don't
Considering-
think Ray has one in his bookstore?
I was
Come
going to
on.
say we know they have at least 5 because in
Right.
Ghostbusters 2, Rick Moranis has one of them,
One,
and they make other ones and stuff, and like they have more. Like I think they're even newer packs in the second film. Like because I have to double check again because.
But he stole them all, Tom. That's
Right, but,
what we were told. That's what the audience
and like
is
Ray
told.
could never
Magic.
put another one back together.
Movie magic.
ever
We'll call that kind of stuff. I kind of blow off the unlimited.
more
Well,
impressed.
they could have been upset because he stole them and they had to go and make more.
Make
just in
more.
case.
That's what I mean.
But
Like
they were
Ray could
done.
have just remanufactured.
Don't they
them.
need him to make more? Because he's
No,
the
not
physicist.
necessarily.
No.
Ray and Egon have
during-
almost the
By
same,
then.
same educational
during
background.
During the
Okay.
story that he's telling, they were already done. They were getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, they didn't
So
care.
why would they get more?
I don't
why would they
remember
make
him
more?
saying anything about getting rid of stuff. They just said they were slow, and instead of concentrating,
They were
No,
gonna
they
lose the
said that they
firehouse.
No,
lost-
they said
they lost
Egon
the
took
firehouse.
everything. Yeah,
They lost the firehouse.
yeah.
That's what they said. They lost
After
because
Egon left, they lost the firehouse.
they
Yeah,
lost the firehouse. They,
and the
they-
Ecto.
Did anybody else here watch that final fucking scene after the credits? I've noticed a lot of people didn't
Yes,
stay
I
at the
have.
second damn scene. We learned there that that's not the fucking truth. Like we learned
What do you
more of
mean?
the truth in that scene. We
The
learned that-
firehouse has been owned by Winston this
Yeah.
entire time and just been
Yeah,
shut
but-
down. And Ray's been told that it's a.
I assume that he just went and bought it now after the fact.
No.
Look at
and
the
he's
condition
been-
of it. It has not been maintained at all.
No,
Right.
it
He's
was
been
not
taking care
maintained.
of Ray this whole time too. That's the whole point we learn is like behind the scenes, Winston's been the one keeping the boys together and taking care of everything. And there's
What do
a
you
lot.
mean keeping the boys together? They were completely separated.
Yeah, but at the same time, he knew that there was a chance, right? Like these things could change, and that's what that whole scene with him talking to Janine is about. Like he's like, I am who I am now, but I will always be a Ghostbuster, right? And that's where he's like, I'll always take care of Ray. I'll always take care of things. And he's like, no, now he's kind of insinuating now might be the time to go forward, kind of leaving that kernel for the future. That's kind of what that is. But the rest of that was, and I'm sad that this wasn't in the movie because there's so much backstory in that final scene that we needed for the movie to kind of understand where things are at. I mean, I don't know if script agrees with me or not, but
No, I would agree. There's like one thing that I mentioned earlier is like this is a Ghostbusters movie. This is a Ghostbusters universe movie, not really a Ghostbusters movie. It takes place in the same
Right.
universe. It is definitely about Egon's family, but it's not really 100% about the Ghostbusters. That is an ancillary thing that has caused this story to be the case.
Right.
And the other part too is that I really like the fact that you have these 3 guys who are in their mid to late 60s who they hold on, they get Gozer and the thing, she knocks them down, they're on the ground. Pete Venkman does that nice little thing trying to buy some time, and Winston almost gets off another blast. He's like, well, it was worth a shot. And right after that, the daughter shoots.
Mhm.
And now he's thinking, okay, so she's buying some time for these old men who have to pretty much catch their breath, stand up on their feet, and then shoot again. Like it's at the same time, it's just kind of like delaying the inevitable. So to
That's how
speak.
I saw it too.
See, I
And
didn't
then
see
you have
that.
She
the one
wasn't the
smart
hero.
kid.
She was just buying time.
And then you have the one kid who doesn't believe he's really that smart because he's good with mechanics, who then realizes, oh, I'm going to shoot Gozer too, but realizing, wait a minute, no, my sister, who they seem to have a really good relationship between the brother and the sister, even though I wish that was explored more,
yeah.
decides, oh wait, I've got this laser thing. Why don't I shoot it at the capacitor because that failed, and give it the charge it needs? Like he put something together, which I thought was really clever because it shows that he's also
Pretty much everybody got a
has some ingenuity as well.
chance to play in the end bit. That was what I
See, and I don't have a problem with any of the end. I absolutely.
I
love
didn't
the
have
end.
any problem with the end
No,
either.
and
That's-
this
to
ending
me-
was what the
to
Force
me-
Awakens should have been. Yeah,
To
sorry.
me, that end, the last 25 minutes of the movie was when it finally felt like Ghostbusters. Like that feeling
No, and
was
I
what was
understand that.
missing throughout the rest of the movie.
I would
See,
see
Because
what
the
I
rest
That's
of the
fair,
movie,
Steph.
the
I
rest of
see
the
that.
movie, it's just not it. I have to really, really, really suspend my disbelief.
Well, I think that is
Same
because
here.
we're getting introduced to brand new characters, and you're right,
Mhm.
Steph. Like that first half hour, 45 minutes is a lot of that. Like we don't even really get any real ghost activity until a little bit later than the original film.
But the
35
first
minutes,
half is
45
built up.
minutes into it. 35
Yeah, about
or 45
45
around
minutes
that,
into
Right,
it.
that
And,
was
and
the
the first
problem for
film
me.
was about a half hour ish. And I agree. Like if you don't like Phoebe, you're not gonna like this movie. I've said that to people. I totally
I gotta
understand
tell you,
that.
my favorite character in this movie was Podcast. I
Podcast,
thought
yeah.
I
Podcast
like
was cute.
podcasts a lot too.
I like
I
all the
thought-
kid characters except for Lucky. I could have done without her. She's kind of pointless for being.
I didn't like Phoebe.
I think she
like
needed to be there
I
as
didn't
the
like
girl,
Phoebe.
the love interest.
Well,
for
here's
him.
the interesting act with Phoebe is that when we first meet her, she's working on basically a home electrical grid, which is an analog system. So she's not the modern day digital savant that we see on YouTube. She's learning at old technology,
Right.
she's changing like a 120 volt to a 220 volt. So she's trying to get European current in the United States, and she fails because the landlord is present when she knocks out the power. She's like, I can fix this, and we kind of know, okay, so she's got this learning curve, and she's more attracted to kind of like hard facts and analog stuff. She's not on a phone. Her brother's more interested in the phone than she is. She doesn't seem to care about digital technology, which I think gives the advantage to how Egon is able to sort of bring her, into this world. And then on top of that too, she's the only time she's using the computer is to look at YouTube, and then she doesn't put the phone number in a phone. She writes it on a piece of paper and puts it in her pocket. And then she plays chess with her grandpa, one move at a time. Like she's very not much of a digital kid. She's definitely like unique, and I think that's kind of like
much
a
more
charm.
She's
hands-on.
incredibly
And
unique.
I like that too. But here's what I didn't like about her character. One,
Sure.
the fact that she was a complete psychopath. Like there was an actual line, and she was like, "Oh, I don't feel emotions like the way normal people do." And I was like, "What the fuck does that even?"
Because
Oh,
she
you
has
mean
an
like whole
incredibly
stress-
high
I thought she
IQ.
had ADD.
She
I thought she
has
had
a
like
low
Asperger's or
social-
something.
It's not
Yeah.
Asperger's. The
No, I
higher
said I
IQ, the
thought like
less social you can
no.
have.
I agree,
Yeah.
but it felt to me the way she was portraying it was more like Asperger's instead of high IQ.
Well, she
Well,
I
she
thought
says
she was a
stressful
psycho.
situations calm her.
Yeah, and that was the second time where she was like, "Oh, really like putting myself in these kind of situations calms me or whatever." And I was like, "So you're a thrill-seeking Zen master at 12 years old?" Like I
It's
don't.
just how her brain functions.
It's a different
Yeah, that's
situation.
how a
Like probably a
psychopath's
pleasant
brain
situation
Not a
functions.
psychopath.
makes her introverted, and then a stressful
I
one
didn't,
makes
think
her
she was,
extroverted.
I didn't think she was a psycho. I just thought she was a little bit out there. No,
I
didn't
didn't
like
think-
Trevor.
I didn't think
don't
she
like
was a
Stranger.
psycho.
I don't
I
like
didn't
the
think-
Stranger Things kid. Every time I
She
see him,
was
every-
like, "I don't feel emotions like regular
No,
people."
I
I'm
know
like,
she
"Yeah,
did,
that's
but I
called
took
being
that
a
as-
psychopath."
No, she
I'm
did.
sorry.
She doesn't express
I'm
emotions
sorry.
like
I
regular
just
people.
mind,
Right.
I don't mind the child actress. She played.
No,
the
I
role.
like the actress. She
played the
pulled the role off. I
She
didn't like
played
the
the role
character.
very, very well.
Yeah, I didn't like the
But this-
character.
I'm sorry. This character, it just no. Mm-mm.
She
I don't
wasn't cute though.
I
Stephanie,
don't buy it
she
at
wasn't
all.
even like Millie
She's-
Bobby
I understand
Brown
she's a
cute.
genius. Fine, she's a genius, but this genius can do everything. I mean, she after she fixes the proton pack, she like puts it on and she runs with it. I mean, she fucking fires it. She didn't have any fucking kickback.
Right,
She
we
should have
were
landed her
voting-
ass on the floor.
Right.
You know, and she
No,
can
Well,
that
run
was
with
stuff
stuff
in
in
this.
energy projection. It
She
doesn't
can
have-
run with this
Yeah,
heavy
no, no.
thing. She can run with this
The
heavy
guys
thing. The
never
kid,
got blue
the
back,
other kid,
though.
the
That
boy,
that
he
was the
picked up
2016 movie that happened.
Yeah, it didn't in the
she
original.
with this thing on. She's a genius, right? So obviously, I mean, I have to explain things away so she doesn't play sports. She's
Right.
not very strong, but she can
Right.
obviously pick this shit up and run with it.
Yeah,
when
I
the little
see that.
boy
I'm surprised she didn't
podcast-
fall over when she put that.
Right.
podcast-
That was
Come
whatever,
on, when
but,
you
like,
see the originals, you see them being pushed back by the beam, and she wasn't.
not really.
No,
Not
when they do the
really.
first
I'm
test
sorry, I
to
hear you
the
explaining away
babe,
a
they
lot
don't
of
they don't
stuff
get
about
knocked
this
back at
character.
all. They're
No,
there.
not knocked back. I did pushed like this, like you're like when you fire a
Like
rifle. I
when
don't
you're
mean knocked
firing
off.
a shotgun and you
Yeah, I
get
don't
a,
mean
you
knocked
know,
off.
There
I
isn't
see
even
that.
that much of a kick on the guys. That was all in the girls' shit. They played that up all through the girls' shit. That was all in the girls' stuff.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me get these super chats. Bro Duke, thank you so much for the $4.99. Says the woke elements really annoyed me in Afterlife.
See, they did. Yeah, we haven't gotten
what
to
woke
I've only
elements. Though? I'm
gotten one.
still
I got
stretching
one.
to find
I
this
didn't see
woke
the
element.
others. I
You
really
didn't
Okay,
see
hold
it.
on. Jayne, what did you see that you thought was a woke element?
I felt like a woke element, especially initially, was the little girl
Yeah.
basically being gender neutral in
Yeah,
appearance. I
androgynous,
hate
that
when they
was
do
the-
that in every
Oh, in the
single movie
fashion,
now.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
disagree
the
with that. I
little
think they
girl
were just
looks
trying to
like a
make her
boy.
like Egon. I don't see
Gozer
that.
And
at all.
also
that
gender
was
neutral,
what, by the
and
end of the movie, I kind of got that that's what it was supposed to be. She was basically her grandfather's granddaughter, basically.
Mhm.
I got that at the end, but I don't like it when they don't do it for no when they do
But
it for no reason.
I didn't get that though, because she didn't actually have a relationship with the grandfather. She
Right.
didn't know
It
the
wasn't about a
grandfather
relationship.
at
It was
all.
just about her embodying him in so many ways.
But it makes no sense though. Do you know
To
what I'm
me,
saying?
the
Like if
whole
you know your grandpa and you want to be like him, that's one thing. But if you
Right.
Yeah,
don't,
but that doesn't necessarily always ring true. There's
It
things
doesn't.
that do skip generations without the child ever knowing the other person. Trust me
Yeah.
on that one.
So you're
Okay,
gonna-
that's
so you're
true
gonna
too.
now
say
it's
That's
that-
inherited. Tom, remember you said it
Right,
wasn't inherited.
right. But are we going to do the pocket?
We're
No, but
talking
there's certain
eugenics
quirks
here,
and
you guys.
here's my
Right,
point with
but-
this: is okay, Phoebe. This is what Script and I brought up as far as her performance. And again, I understand if you don't buy the character, you don't like the performance. The movie's not going to work for you.
Right.
Me, I bought into her. What I liked about her was she felt like a Spangler without doing an impression of Harold Ramis. She had her own quirks, her own way about it, but yet she still fit within that Spangler, not mold, but that she fit, right? Like she wasn't
Mhm.
exactly her grandfather. She had her own quirks, her own ways about her,
Mm.
but yet I could buy that was Egon's granddaughter. Like
Right.
I have a
I
son.
think that,
My brother
like,
has
to
a
me,
son.
when
I would have
Jayne
bought.
was
I
saying
would have
that,
bought it. I bought that she was Egon's granddaughter. I didn't.
Right,
So
you
did
have
I.
There's
the
nothing.
hair, the
There's hey.
glasses.
I didn't say I don't buy her as Egon's granddaughter. Hell yeah, I buy her as Egon's granddaughter. This is his family. They explained that. All right, she's kind of
quirky.
She was androgynous.
just like
I couldn't
Egon.
stand
Fine.
the androgynous part.
That's fine. I don't.
I hate when they do it with
it's all
no
of the other
context.
stuff.
Right.
It's all of the other stuff that they give her.
But
Okay,
they
no.
do.
It's
But
just
they
like
do
she's
layer it
you're
later.
a genius. You can just do anything. Let's just
In math
get
and
out of jail
science, I
free
can
card.
believe
You're
it.
a genius, so you can do
Right.
anything.
Right, but-
She's running with this proton pack where podcast picked up her backpack that had the trap in it, and he's just like struggling to carry it.
Right.
But
I
she
think
can
that-
run with this thing. All right.
The other thing that I kind of excused away too was that, like, kind of like they're boyifying her, whatever you want, whatever term
Androgynous.
you want to call it. Because when, like, my husband brought that up actually, like when we were in the theater, she was like, "Oh my god, this little girl looks like a boy." But
Yeah.
here's the thing: like when I was 12 and 13, I was a total tomboy. So like I can pass that off too. Like thinking around that age, you're kind of confused and you don't know like quite, you're
Right,
not
but
like
not in
within your full
2021.
sexuality yet. So
Right.
you're gonna maybe like be a tomboy or whatever. Like that's fine. I didn't find that too crazy. What I did think was a little bit interesting was how many like diverse people were in the middle of I
Oh,
thought
in
that
Oklahoma, nowhere.
in an Oklahoma town with a population of I don't know how many, and then there was like all these like brown and black people and like all these different kind of people, and I'm just like, shouldn't this be like predominantly white town? I mean, let's be honest.
Black people have been in
here.
Oklahoma since there's been Oklahoma.
What?
Black people have always been out in the middle of nowhere towns. Like that's not anything unusual.
Okay, so but you're saying like that you don't.
Not to
think that
mention
this-
in Asian too, because of the railroads that came through. I mean, they've
well,
been
the
there since,
Asian,
like,
the
1800s
Asian
too.
one, yes, but like I mean, I don't. There was like an Indian kid there, like East
Well, I
Indian
mean, you know,
kid.
their
and-
land, right?
Yeah. No, East Indian, like
East
like,
Indian kid.
Yeah, like there was so
Southeast
many
Asian.
different. Yeah, they were all so very different and like diverse, and I felt like I thought that it would be a predominantly white town, but okay, like here we go, it's fine. Like I'm not.
I was disappointed they weren't all
that.
Gozer worshippers.
Gozer worshippers.
Well, that's
Gozer.
basically what it is. That's what Ivo Shandor did. He
Yeah, he was a
created
Yeah.
Gozer
Like someone-
worshippers, and then they mined the selenium and took it to New York. And I was hoping that would have been the quirk of the hometown when they went there, but
That'd have been a good twist.
Right.
That would have been fantastic.
That would
have been more
We would have gotten some, some more stories or some more backstory to that character instead of him just like coming back and she splits him in half. That would have been That would have been great.
Yeah,
I
and
would've
that
loved
other guy, they
It's just
wasted
missing-
him completely. The J. Jonah Jameson guy that was in the coffin. I was like,
Now Igor
What?
Shandor.
Yeah,
just use
that's,
it. Yeah,
that's who
you
that
just
is.
that's it. Yeah, like you just rip him up and like that's it. Like you just like there was nothing that happened with that guy, and I was like, I want something to happen with this guy. There's
Well, I think they
nothing
were showing you there, like he spent his entire life and his death preparing for Gozer
for
to
this
come,
moment.
And expecting to
Gozer-
share the power.
And Gozer didn't give a shit. It's like, yeah, thanks.
Well, the
That
other
part
thing
I
is,
got. That part I got. What the problem with me is we're in 2021. Nina was just saying, you know, you were a tomboy when you were a kid. I knew a lot of girls on my block who were tomboys, but we're talking, if this had taken place 30 years ago, 20 years ago, this film, I wouldn't have never even thought about it. I've been like, yeah, it's a tomboy who's into science.
yeah, but she's not
But
even
because
old enough
of the-
for it to be an issue, though. Yet,
Right, but I'm talking about I'm not talking about the girl. I think the actress did phenomenally well. I'm talking about the character. I didn't like the character, especially because I think Hollywood has changed tactics. In my opinion, instead of beating everybody over the head with SJW, they're now starting to stitch it into the foundation, into the film.
I agree.
But
And
here's
so
the
it's
thing,
more
though.
subtle,
I
more
didn't-
sinister.
But the
That's what
thing
bothers me.
about it is that's if you're gonna have a message in your film and you prioritize entertainment, that's how it works.
see, that's what I
Because
was gonna
movies and
say,
television have
yeah.
always had propaganda in them. They've always had
true,
an
Jane.
agenda,
That's
but
true.
they focused on entertaining you first and foremost.
Right.
I think the
See, I
difference
didn't
here.
notice. I honestly didn't notice the diversity and tomboyness like that.
Well, no,
That
she
didn't-
called
yeah,
out.
it went-
Remember, she
it
called
was-
out Gozer. She's like, nope, she's not a she
Yeah.
or a he. In the first film,
Whatever.
it's
Well,
like,
that's
it's
from
a
the
dude.
first movie. Yeah.
That's exactly what they say, though. In
No,
the
he
first
said
film, though.
they said he. Unless
No,
I'm
they have that
familiar.
whole line, George, where he goes, I thought Gozer was a man, and Ray says, it's whatever it wants to be.
Okay,
They-
well,
they copy that
I
exact
take your word
line
for
in
it
this
because you know
movie,
it
yeah.
better than me. Okay,
Because that's one
funny.
of the lines where I said somebody's going to take that as woke when it's not, even though they
No,
make a
that's
joke
just-
about it being
That's
woke.
just a movie.
That's a throwback to the
Well, that's
original
fine.
film.
well, I'll take that off my list. Then
Yeah,
I,
that's the whole
then
point
I
of
well,
that.
no, thank you for that. But that's why we live and learn. But Trevor also, I don't know. I like Stranger Things, but to me, it's kind of like how Christopher Reeves. I've heard after he did Superman, you always saw him as Christopher Reeve, no matter what. If he did Death Trap or any other film he did. But when I see that kid, I always think of those 3 a.m., you know, those old public service announcements where it's like send money to the starving kids. It just never fit the role for me. So I didn't
will
like
say
him.
I-
One thing,
I didn't
one
feel
thing
like-
in particular, I was a little bit surprised that he was straight.
Yeah, that he was straight. I
That's
was a
my
little
point.
surprised about that
It kind of
too.
goes to the point I was going to say is this movie is diverse and it's
True.
not woke, right? There's a difference. It's done right. I mean, whether you like Phoebe or not, that's
Listen.
kind of not the point we're getting here. It's the point of, you know, these characters were not in there because, oh, I'm a black woman, pay attention to me. I'm a woman, pay attention to me. None
Well,
of that.
they did
felt
do
like,
the black girls better than everybody, and she comes out with her gun and knows how to like
Well,
use the
Lu-
gun.
Lucky
when
had some
she's never had
issues
any
as a character.
practice, so I don't know.
Yes.
yes,
That
I feel like a lot of
considered
Lucky
bold.
got left on the cutting room floor.
Well,
Yeah,
I
she
think
just
there were
never
lots of
developed
scenes
very
left, but I
But-
wish.
but
I hope
also-
they're better
So,
scenes.
but we can't rely on that though. 'Cause
But
Exactly.
we're-
No, we
what
can,
you
and
mean
I
was-
conceded already. Lucky is the shittiest character in this
Right.
movie.
Well, Lucky is the
looking
Mary
at the movie as
Sue
a whole.
to me.
I'm assuming that there was a plan. She knew the plan. They told her how to use the gun. But that's my headcanon. I'm just assuming that.
Exactly.
But that's the
Um,
thing. The other thing that I think, I don't know if it's considered woke, but I do think that there was a lot of issues with male characters, including and foremost Paul Rudd's character, which was a total trashed character.
It was
This-
Paul Rudd
that-
being Paul Rudd.
I had no
Well,
issues with Paul Rudd. I loved him in
no.
this movie. I'm not
I'm
sure.
not talking about Paul Rudd. I'm talking about the character of this person. And this thing could have been fixed if they had made Paul Rudd her dad. This entire
Oh.
movie could have been fixed if he was the father figure that she was missing. So she didn't
He
have a
kinda
deadbeat
was.
dad.
Well, he became her father
No.
figure.
She didn't know him all her life.
No,
Todd.
I'm
she
saying-
just met the dude.
No, like
That-
he
that's-
filled the role of father figure when in school.
I don't.
Yeah,
She went
but
to
they
school
just
for
met.
2 days. They
Yeah, but he
just met.
nurtured that side of her that was interested
For
in this
2
stuff.
days.
Oh my-
Like,
it was
it-
fucking
no.
summer school.
Yeah. Which brings me to
So
the fact
now
that
he's
a completely
he's a
shitty
nurturer
teacher.
and a father figure after like what 2 or 3 days.
And
Obi-Wan
he's
was
a
with
shitty
Luke for
teacher.
only 2 days.
Yeah,
Right.
Obi-Wan was
That's-
with Luke for
I
only
don't
2
think
days.
it's. I don't think it's a time.
See,
I don't think it's a time
no,
based.
okay, if you're comparing it to that, that's
Well,
That's
he's
all
the
that needs to
reason
be
that they
said.
find any interest in this because she has no clue what the fuck the trap is until he tells them.
And
then
he's
he
one of
tells
the few
them
people who
all the
shows an
stuff.
interest in her
Yeah,
and what she
exactly.
likes. I mean,
Yeah, but
they
that's
just
the thing. That's why I'm
bonded.
saying this movie
There's
could
like
have
2 or
been
3
fixed
scenes
if
where he
it
talks
was
about
an
her, yeah.
actual
Because she's a
dad that taught her
seismologist
these
and
things. Like,
I think some of us just don't find it just blah or don't like it, and I think that's what it is.
but that's
I
the
didn't
thing.
like-
Like,
no,
I have
and
a
that's
problem
fine.
with that he's a teacher. He's a freaking summer school teacher, and he's putting his own weird career, which is whatever, like he thinks he's a seismologist or whatever, ahead of all the kids. And like,
Because
you
the
know,
other kids
playing
are
like fucking
dumb.
He
Cujo
says that
for
right
them.
up.
The other kids
That's
are
why he
So
put
what,
Cujo on. He
Jane?
put
What kind
Cujo
of
on because
message
they're
are we
idiots.
sending? What
It's
kind of
the
message is this
truth,
movie sending?
reality, honesty.
Actually, I
Which
love
is
that
what?
part because hold up, because if
We
this
should
was a
split
movie
that
that was
out.
full of woke, they would be talking about how great schools are and he knew this
Exactly.
wonderful teacher and all this shit. No. I love the fact that Phoebe says schools are a waste of fucking time. Paul Rudd basically comes in and says, this is public fucking school. It's the greatest job in the world. I get to fuck off all day because all these kids are dumber than a box of rocks and nothing I teach them is going to stick anyhow. Right?
But
So
here's the
wait,
other part too. He
Wait,
knows
so
the
you
names
think
of all
that
the
that's
students,
a
so he's
positive
interacting with
message
them.
to send to kids these days?
He's half joking, but the point is it's fucking summer school, right?
He's not
he knows
half
he's a
joking, though.
glorified
He puts on
babysitter.
Cujo and completely inappropriate movies for kids who are supposed to learn
It's
in
a
summer
joke.
school so they can
It's
actually
a
pass class
joke.
the next year.
What
He's
schools
like-
have you been going to
Oh
in
my God.
America? Okay, I
Right.
see. You're confused about American schools.
What do you mean?
Oh, that's
I'm
a
just-
big yeah.
No, I'm not confused about American
The
schools.
public
I'm
school
saying that they're
is
putting out an
exactly what you
image
do.
here for kids to show that there's this person who gives absolutely no fucks is running the
He
school.
does
but then
give
he's
a fuck though.
No,
Just not
kidding.
about-
you're
But
missing
he's-
one of the points. He knows a lot about the students. He knows them by name, and he also knows that podcast. He's like, podcast. He's surprised that podcast doesn't know the Ghostbusters or the Trap. He's like, you don't know this? I was like, that shows the relationship. Like he knows
Does
his
it though?
students.
He's basically Pete Venkman 2.0.
Right.
He's great with the kids, but he sucks at being a fucking teacher.
Right.
Right? That's what Bill Murray says in the first film. Like the kids love us. But you can tell he's just wasting the fucking the college's time and money, right? Like
Doing
he's
all
not
those
doing
tests.
anything.
God, yeah, the tests.
He's just basically sucking off the government teat.
Teat, yeah,
And that's
right.
basically
and
what
being
Paul
a
Rudd is
shitty
doing
teacher.
here.
I mean,
I-
that's
Paul Rudd,
I
kept me
looked-
up.
I
will
looked
say
at it as-
Paul Rudd's character kept me up during the film. When he'd be on, I did. I woke up. I
And he
liked
was
the little
actually-
marshmallow
I
guy.
his teaching, it was just like whatever. I looked at it as okay, this is what he uses to pay the bills, and this is his real passion in this little room back here.
Yeah, he
That's
was
what he's
trying to
working
figure
on.
out why the hell. But then they threw in that, green message again, fracking.
But I don't like that. I don't like that as a message to be like, okay, here is a person that's just basically like, completely checked out of reality of like actually helping these kids and maybe even training them to be.
Now I gotta disagree with you there because that's his passion right there, right? Seismology. Okay,
Mhm.
so I have to disagree with you there because his interest in that is because he's in a town. He probably did teach
A
summer
dead-end
school,
town.
and he probably was a good teacher because yes, he does know these kids. However, something weird is going on right now with the quakes, and he's trying to figure it out. So let me play this tape for the kids while I try and figure this out.
That's-
or you could get the kids involved.
Well, they're all stupid. And they don't understand it. But Phoebe, that's what
How?
he notices.
But that's the thing. Like you're just assuming that all those kids are stupid. I have
He
a
No,
problem
he
told
with
us
this
they're
kind
dumb
of
as a
thing.
box of rocks.
He told Phoebe. He said he said they're retarded or slow.
I think
One of
he
those.
did kinda say
It was
that.
retarded or slow.
I don't
He
think
used
Well,
one of
he
those.
positive
mumbled something about that
message.
one kid that just walked by the mom, like that. Hey, Charlie. That guy.
Because it was
I don't
retarded
know
or
what's
slow, and
wrong.
I was like, I'm not going to go see it again to figure out the word, but it was one of those because I was like, that I was surprised. I was cracking up laughing. The other parents weren't. But
Yeah.
Let me just
See-
quickly get these super
I
chats
laughed
before
like
we carry
crazy
on.
during
Mayor
that scene.
McCheese, thank you so much for the $5. Says fake Ramus is different / same than Rogue One crushing. There's some differences, but neither actor obviously had any input on their appearance. Wait, who is this talking about?
Well,
He's talking about Peter Cushing, but I disagree here on this because I think they handled this with a lot of class,
better than Star Wars.
yeah.
much better than
Oh,
Star
okay,
Wars.
Peter Cushing. Okay.
You remember
Yeah,
when
like
they showed
Harold
him at
Ramis
the-
was definitely 60 pounds lighter in the CG
Oh, yeah.
version at the end than when he
Oh,
passed.
yeah.
I liked
But
what they did.
I
to the
think
CG
you
version of
posited-
this.
I think you posited where they probably got that from. I think it was you script that they
Yeah.
probably did use his scan from the video game. That's why.
Probably
You
as a
think so?
basis, yeah.
And
You really
honestly,
think
I'm going to
so?
tell
Wow.
you, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think because we've been talking about, is there or isn't there any video game references? I'm pretty sure Ivo Shandor is kind of playing a bit of a nod to the video game, because we never got to see him until that video game, and they made sure he looked just like the video game in this movie.
And they did say that business was slowing down, like
Yes.
so like that implies that it was like in the early 90s is when business started to slow down. And then he also talks about how once Egon took all the stuff, they still got calls from Egon, and then the calls got further and further apart.
That's what
to
he
the point
said,
where we
yeah.
didn't even hear him for 10 years. So up until at least 2011, they'd still been hearing about from Egon. And they say the dirt farmer's been there for almost 20 years. So
Right,
we
but-
do know some type of relationship was out there. And I love the fact that they call him the dirt farmer. I love the fact that he was planting traps like
Right.
crops in front of
Right.
the farmhouse to build this elaborate system to defend it.
I like that
Uber
too,
trap.
but I think he could have
Right.
involved his family in all of that. I don't think that
Right.
I don't think him
I think he
taking on
tried.
added to anything
I think
in
it
this
was his
movie. That
mentality.
it was showing that
You
he's a
know,
deadbeat father.
I
And
think
that's
he was
why his
doing the
daughter went to
Einstein.
get with a deadbeat man who ended up becoming a father
Well,
of
here
her
we're
own
assuming
kids.
shit. Okay.
I think he was doing the Einstein thing, just real quick. I didn't think he literally went, I'm gonna dump them. I think he was like, I'm gonna save the world, and the
Right.
price is my family.
Well, I
can't
think they
tell.
up and left him is more what it was.
The only bad guy was her husband.
But
Right,
we
Yeah.
didn't
But
see
we
any
don't
of
know
that,
that, but
though.
we
They
don't
should
didn't
have,
show
yeah.
any of that.
But I
They
mean,
didn't
just
I
in
wish
show
we
terms
his
of
did.
what we're told, he's the only one who and he's not even a point in the story. Like, I don't understand the focus on him.
Yeah, he was a deadbeat, and basically that's why she didn't have
She was
a
a
dad.
single mom. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just
Well, we
said
have
he
a situation.
died.
Well, here's the thing, and I wish they would have done a little bit better job with this. I agree, because you have a situation here where we don't know exactly what happened between Egon and her mother.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that's what I was saying is when Egon went crazy, she probably
Yes.
took her and left. Right.
Exactly. So we
Right.
need to see stuff like that.
And I agree with you. And
I would
we do-
agree with that. Yes.
I do. I agree. We get a little bit of that in that scene where we finally see all the pictures up there, and he's been keeping
Right.
track of her and all that kind of stuff, because that shows kind of like,
He's been
yes,
involved
he
in her
has been.
life.
Yeah,
He
he
has
has
been-
been
yeah,
trying
and
to
that's-
be there, but like, yeah, it just.
That's
maybe
where it kind of wrapped up for me, because she's just like, when she walks into the house, she's like, oh, no family photos. Well,
Yeah. And then
they're
he
all-
sees all the photos, and then she sees
because
all the
they're
photos
because he
in the
spent
basement.
because he spent a lot of time there. That's where
which
he
they
spent
kind
the
of
bulk
stole
of his
from
time.
Simpsons, but I thought
They
they did.
did.
A
That
great
was a
job.
Maggie thing.
It was
Yeah,
totally
I
stole
agree
from
with that.
Simpsons.
Yeah, 100%. That was a.
But I loved it because that's kind of what it was, though, and I'm doing it for her. Like that was his whole point.
Yeah,
Is
that's
before
where he spent the bulk of his time.
you could
so
almost even
there you
stop
go.
and think, okay, before that he was just regular Egon, but the moment he had a child and he
He
knew that,
changed.
yeah, he changed and he knew that this was happening and nobody else was listening to him. So that's where I can see where, these things tumbled down and, he got to this point where he was isolated himself on this farm and he had set up this elaborate plan and he knew he needed the guys, right? That was his whole thing.
I could have seen that if we had just some more setup, or just have him
Some
be
exposition,
involved in
something.
their life. Have him be the grandfather they want until he's not. Until like that's the influence, right? Like you're just looking for some sort of influence. And
Like
that's why
Egon's
they're
the
like,
mysterious grandfather that keeps on sending them letters and gifts and stuff every once in a
Stuff
while,
like
but they never
that.
get to see him.
exactly stuff
And the
like
mom's
that.
it
hiding
Like,
it away or something like that.
yes,
He-
or like
And again,
or like
yes,
that,
I agree. They should
that
have.
they were involved or that he was even involved with their life, like when their father left or whatever. Like he was like, come stay with me, and the mother was like, no, you're too crazy, or like I don't know, whatever. Like, but we don't see anything like that.
No,
and
I
that
agree,
to
we
me is a
needed that.
problem.
I would say if
funny.
one really interesting aspect that they could have done there to really lay home why the kids don't know him is if the daughter is getting letters from Egon, but she keeps throwing them in the trash.
See, that's
Right.
something too.
Or she should have shown like a flashback of the mother doing it or something before she passed away or something like that. The grandmother.
Yeah,
I mean.
the grandma. Yeah.
I think for me, since most of it was and I think they had scenes that they should have added in and removed in the middle. in the
I
middle
agree with
section.
that. There's some
yeah.
things they could
Oh,
have
yeah.
trimmed
There's
and
something-
other
there's
things that they
features
should have
that-
brought in more.
I didn't need the whole sheriff scene. We didn't need a lot of that.
Yeah, we didn't need the sheriff. stuff
We didn't
at all.
need actually the kid hitting on her for 5 minutes. Here I'm
Uh,
applying for a
that-
job and a flirt. I mean, then go. I don't.
And
think
that's
so.
where they could have fixed the family stories. That's where I said.
What
if
were
he
you
would've
gonna say,
spent-
Steph?
Sorry, Steph. Go ahead.
that scene with the sheriff where she picks up the thing and points it at him. Like all of that, I'm just kind of like, dude.
That is pure Egon.
That was crazy.
Egon almost killed Walter Peck outside of the firehouse.
Your
Oh
mother.
God, I forgot about that.
A lot of that
That's-
stuff
yes.
is callbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the
See,
stuff you
I
don't
did.
like.
I did like. See, that's what I liked. What Reitman did with the nostalgia. I didn't think he went overboard. I think he spiced it just right, where it was for people who didn't know anything about Ghostbusters and they went in. They'd be like, okay, it wasn't visible to them, but for fans and diehards, they'd be like, oh, it's there. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
like that.
that's one of the things that doesn't translate well, right? Like you're talking about a movie from the 80s versus a movie from 2021, where if a kid actually did that to a cop,
Oh, well, yeah, it'd be shot.
or tased or
There's a small
something,
town
right? Like,
cop.
Well, the only
'cause
reason she probably
there's
wasn't is
certain
the
things
cop
that
probably
don't
had no
translate.
idea what the fuck it was or didn't even think
Right.
it was that
Yeah.
dangerous. But no, I agree with Script because we had this conversation the other day. Egon never shows any emotion whatsoever except for when he gets pissed.
Right.
That's the
Mhm.
only time
When he
he
gets
ever shows
angry.
emotion.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I can understand why him and Ray had a falling out, because he was unemotional any other time than when he would get, completely upset or, emotionally involved in something. And that's probably where he shut everybody out of his life. And that's probably why, you got to remember, he was shut in when Phoebe was born. Like, so he never even got to probably even know that the kids were around and shit. It depends on how much he was able to keep track of them, I mean,
real quick, Tom, let me just read this super chat because I want to get to cultures.
no, you're
Mayor
fine. I was just going to say,
McCheese,
yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much for the $2. Says, I like this film, but Cecil's cash grab is bigger than Afterlife, is greater than Afterlife.
If we ever get to read it.
Yeah, if we ever get it, that I think we can all.
Well,
agree.
just
What
my
is it, over a
finishing
year,
point was
a year behind, right?
my finishing point was, we know how Egon was, is that basically like Janine was keeping everything afloat for him basically all these years. Yeah.
Yes.
Was anybody
culture-
upset that they didn't end up together?
Who, her
I
and-
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was upset.
Actually, Script and I had this conversation yesterday. We felt like her and Rick Moranis' character were the better pairing.
They were the more interesting pairing
That's
because
interesting. I didn't think of
Janine
that.
is the dominant status character and Lewis is not. Wherein with Egon and Janine, Egon is the dominant status character and Janine is kind of simping to him.
I
I think the other dynamic in 89 was a bit more.
There's more humor there, yes.
I thought Bill Murray's character was going to end up being the rich guy, and somehow the black guy became the rich guy. I don't know how that works out.
I
either.
love
was
that part because it shows, because we were talking about this yesterday with Ghostbusters 2, that Winston was this guy who walked in off the street. He had one blazer, he had the same shirt and jeans. He was looking for a steady paycheck. Ray's the one that hired him, and then Ray's the one that jumps on top of Winston to save him from the explosion after they cross the streams.
Right.
And you've got this budding friendship. And what do we see in the first few minutes of Ghostbusters 2? It's Winston and Ray doing a birthday party, and Winston's trying to be the best friend he can to support this guy who's got him out of a tough spot.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
like
love
he's also the
Winston.
buddy that's got the slime blower with Ray, so they have some sort of camaraderie there. And then we learn something beautiful in the third one, that Winston managed to become successful by way of the Ghostbusters, and he's been paying back this guy that gave him a chance, that allowed him to do that. And it's all done out of like love and respect for someone who otherwise had just a guy off the street, like just a nobody to everyone else. But they gave him a chance, and he measured up, and he now has this empire, and he's taking care of his buddies. And even though like they kind of went their separate ways, they still kind of keep in touch to a degree.
He's got that brotherly bond. He's got the brotherly bond. He's like, they helped me when I needed it, and I'm there. I love Winston. I've always thought they needed more Winston, and that would go to segue to where I wanted to go. To me, when I knew from the beginning, obviously the kids were in it. To me, for this to be better, I'd like to have seen them in their 20s or maybe late 30s, not kids. That's just my personal. That's the Ghostbusters I wanted to see.
I understand.
College students, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see them actually get trained from the Ghostbusters to be Ghostbusters. I didn't want like a 5-minute.
The torch completely, exactly.
We probably will for the next one.
Maybe not.
But I don't think there'll be these kids that get the torch, so to speak.
No.
It's like we've got
a
journey to go.
I don't think that this movie should have been like a passing of the torch movie.
I don't think
it could have.
I thought it was a little bit, don't you?
It could have still been a family movie, Egon's family. What didn't work for me was that the
kids got
12.
to me. That's I
she
don't
was
know.
12.
It's Goonies to me.
Age her up a little bit. Let her be. Age her up. Let her be a quirky, nerdy high schooler.
Yeah, maybe
That
she's
I
in
would-
high school so that at least she's a little
here's
that I
the
more
would
beauty
believe
of-
that
Well,
she
but
has
here's the-
more years, more knowledge.
College. I'm more comfortable.
Here's the
with
beauty of the
college.
fact that they
Here's
shot
the
this movie 2
problem.
years ago is that by the time they ever get to a sequel, she will be 17 years old,
But
guys.
here's the
Fine.
problem
Let's
with it.
start her
Here's the
at
problem.
17.
What's up, Jane? What's
They
up?
Start her at
couldn't-
17.
They
Sorry.
couldn't do that. Part of the reason why these are children, I think, is because they didn't go super woke with it. And they
Okay.
could only get away with that because of their youth. So the
Oh.
boy is inherently non-threatening because he's a child, right? So he
Right.
can be
15,
straight,
yeah.
he can be a male, right?
He's just a
But
bag
if
of
they were-
hormones. That's
If
it.
they were older, then it would have been completely different. I don't think you could have had them be heroes the way they
Oh,
are.
really? You don't think
According
you
to
could
the
have them
law.
as
I don't-
20? You don't
I
think you could have them
disagree.
as 20-year-olds
disagree.
and
I
still
don't think
be?
so. I think the boy would have to have been some category other than straight white male.
Oh,
let
really?
them
Well,
be
if-
like a year apart. He's like 1 year older than her in high school.
I agree with Jane to a point. I think the other reason is this movie is about Egon. And the only way you can tell Egon's story at this point is if you had another
relative.
generation to pass it on to.
Hear me out. I
That's
wanted
fine.
a movie
I
where
don't mind.
you show Egon's dead.
Mhm.
They show up for the funeral, and they're like, "Okay, that's your
I
perfect
hate that
setup.
shit.
He's dead.
Yeah, me too.
They show up for a funeral. He's dead for some
That
reason.
is
They
the
don't know why. They have to
cheapest
figure
shit in the
out. They
world.
have to figure
No,
out why.
that's some
But
Zack
it's
Snyder stuff
classic.
there.
It works.
Yeah.
It's classic.
No,
It works.
I like this movie the way it's
That's
perfectly-
Watchmen.
It's
That's a
perfectly
good
fine.
Watchmen.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. The thing that I do mind is that she's just 12. She's too. I feel like if they aged her up to like let her brother be, 18, a senior in high school or whatever, and she's a junior in high school. Give her some more time. Give her some more time.
Some more
to
time because
develop.
then she'll have like be
She's
she'll
still
have taken physics and all that stuff in school as well, and she'll be like the smartest person
give her a
there.
reason to go
Well,
to
she doesn't
summer
like school. She likes learning. That's the
Right.
She
difference.
likes
She would've
learning.
known
That's
already.
fine.
She's
She
not a
likes
student,
learning.
she's-
So let her be the quirky high schooler who goes to some. That's what I didn't. Why is she
Well,
in summer school? Why is she in summer
that's
school
just
if
because
she's
it's a
this
cheap.
genius?
Well, that's where Paul
I think it's
Rudd,
babysitting. I think
Yeah,
it's
that was a little bit of a
babysitting.
contrivance with this.
Yeah,
with this cut.
babysitting because she's too smart for that. I mean, that's where the
why
mom's
is
like,
she
I
in
got nowhere to
summer
go.
school?
You go to summer school.
Set her up as I'm. You've been. Let this throwaway line. Let her be older, and she has this throwaway line with her mom when the mom's dropping her off at summer school. She's like, I really don't understand why you've always loved taking extra classes over the summer.
Mhm.
And she's just like, I want to graduate junior year or something like that. Like she's just
Right.
always.
I thought she was
gone-
going to summer school because they had moved, and she was like not doing
It's
well.
summer.
No, they
She's going
flat
to
out
summer
tell
school.
you in
There's
the
no
scene.
reason
Right.
that she's going to summer school.
They flat out tell you in the scenes because basically you can tell her mom wants a babysitter. Her choices
Yeah,
are go to
they
summer
said it.
school or you come and help me clean out the fucking house.
That's
And
why
she's
she's
like,
like,
I'll take the summer school.
right.
Right,
That-
right.
Yeah.
It's a babysitter. Which most schools today are. They don't teach
Yeah.
shit.
That's fine.
yeah.
And let me posit one
I
more
don't like
thing.
it. I don't like
And I
that.
understand,
I don't
Steph,
like
and I'm not trying to change your mind at all, Steph, but let me posit one more thing about why I think they went with children, especially Phoebe's age the way she is. Coming from somebody who has a son, and my brother has a son, the way that a young child connects with their grandparent is very important, specifically
Oh,
at
yeah.
certain ages too. See, and that's where I think Trevor isn't as invested, right? Like he's past that point now. He's not
It's
really
the
worried
adolescence age. Yeah.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
you needed Phoebe at that right age because otherwise, because that's the thing is my son and my dad are
Mhm.
like two fucking mirror images. Same thing with my brother's son. Like him and I are almost like two fucking. It's weird how family works, right?
No,
like
no,
the
I
Yeah.
agree with you there 100%.
I
get
don't. I
that.
don't. I'm sorry. I don't agree. I think that it would have been nice to where she's felt something missing.
Right.
Oh, she does.
But
That's
Hollywood
why-
was
that's
never
why
going
she
to
The
did it.
difference
allow
though is
that.
when you get to that
She
age, though,
felt
usually
something missing. I completely disagree. You can have. I loved my grandparents. It doesn't matter how old I was. I
Yeah.
connected with my grandpa. I connected with my grandma. It doesn't matter how old I was. I would have been a teenager, and I would still know to go into the kitchen and give my grandpa a hug and a kiss. It
Right.
didn't matter how old I was. I never stopped doing that.
Oh, that's not the
you're-
point of
That's
contention.
not the point I'm making here either.
I
Yeah,
understand. No, I understand that, but you treat your grandparents differently than you treat your parents.
Parent, yes.
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 So
Well,
it-
the grandparents
I-
are the grandparents. They let you get away with stuff because it's not their problem. Like that's how you can connect to them a bit more.
Yeah, so that I don't think that there's going to be that little adolescent divide thing, because you treat your grandparents differently than you treat your parents, because there's that difference. You don't have, your grandparents yelling at you all the time, nagging at you all the time, like your
Right.
parents do 24/7. Your grandparents are different. You treat them differently.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah, but that's
well,
not
the thing
even
is,
the
the
point I was
grandparents have
getting
done
to,
the
though.
raising of the child already. So what they're doing is when they see the grandchild, they're like, "Oh, I know exactly where this kid's coming from. I know how to get to them better during that adolescence period."
But we
than
didn't
their
have that.
I
parents.
think something was lost here. Tom, say that again, because I don't think that's what you were saying. Was it?
No. I'm just saying, like, that's my whole point. Everything you're getting to is like why one of the reasons children, they fall in love with a grandparent, because it is that other kind of nurturing you don't necessarily always get from, it's that unconditional love no matter what. And I
Yeah,
mean,
but you said that they grow out of it at their adolescent period.
my point is
No,
this
no,
is
if they're not
no,
around.
that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like, yes, exactly like Script said. If it's something like Trevor at this point, he has never had an attachment to his grandfather. Look, there was one of my grandparents that I never got to meet because he died before I was born. I can barely get anybody to talk about him, and it got to a point where I just quit, because when I was interested was when I was younger. And then it got past that point to where now it's like I'm moving on to other things. And like Trevor's going to be somebody who's going to be more interested in what his dad's like right now, right? Like that's where he's at in his life.
And girls and things of that nature.
Now,
So,
see-
things of that nature. But like my point is this, is that Phoebe is at that right age to where if she's going to be able to make a bond with her grandfather that Trevor probably wouldn't be able to, because for various reasons, and one of them being
Well, hey, he's
her
trying to get
age.
lucky with Lucky. So
Yeah, no, I disagree with you. I think that you could still have aged her up to be like 17. And she's pretty much, I mean, she's already the weirdo of her family, right? She's already like, she's incredibly smart. She doesn't really connect with her mom. She doesn't really connect. Her brother is just like, say the joke.
That was the other
don't
thing.
be weird. She
That
can
was the
still
other
be
thing that I
way
found really
and feel
weird
like
about
she
her.
can't connect with her.
I agree in that way. I won them
feel
over.
that way. She can't connect with them. But then they move out here, and she starts learning about her grandfather, and she's just kind of like, well, shit, I could have connected with this person. This is what I've been missing. And she could still have that bond.
That's the other thing that I didn't like about her was that she was like all like she was talking to Podcast, and then Podcast was like telling her about all this stuff like conspiracy theories and ghosts and like blah blah blah, and she like flat out goes like, I don't believe in ghosts, because I guess she's so scientific, so she doesn't have that, like, she doesn't believe in ghosts. And then like literally 5 seconds later, she starts like interacting with her grandfather's ghost, and she's totally fine with it. Like it doesn't even faze her. But see, here's the thing: that's not natural, because people who don't believe in ghosts, when they have a supernatural experience, usually there's some sort of reaction.
But they kind of explain that though. She doesn't react to things the same way.
That's why I thought she had Asperger's.
That's what I'm saying too. I do think it's an
psychopath, because she didn't have any reaction.
I think she had her affect was off, is what it was.
I clearly think. I think they were trying to say she is on the spectrum, and through her, I think they were trying to say in a roundabout way that so was Egon. Right. And I think that was literally embedded in the movie, because that is something that is very near and dear to Dan Aykroyd, because he was not diagnosed until way later in life with Asperger's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that either.
So yeah, and as a parent of an autistic child, I saw a lot of that in this film. Okay. That's where I really connected with a lot of Phoebe. Like I totally understand Phoebe.
Okay, so you think she's on like the
I do
spectrum.
Totally think she's on the spectrum.
I don't know about that.
That makes a little bit more sense to me than like
high functioning.
I have my doubts on that, but here's the other part too. So Phoebe's at the age where the innocence is still present. A 17-year-old does not have any innocence to them.
No.
So that's probably they can easily divorce themselves from the things that would allow them to attach to another person that is newly introduced to their family. They can easily divorce them, because they would go to the emotional thing of, oh, you weren't there, so I have to hate you. Whereas a child is like, well, they're absent, and I want to know why. There's a bit more leverage there, because they haven't gone through all the drama of what happens with the socialization of high school to be resentful based on the absence. She's just basically more in the inquisitive mode of things. And the other part too, and this is something that's actually quite prevalent with kids of high intelligence and high learning, is that having such high intelligence and being able to express that in a social setting of your peers can make you socially ostracized. And that screws up your socialization skills. That doesn't mean you have Asperger's. It just means that your social skills are now going to be developing at a slower rate than your actual knowledge acquisition. But you can catch up to that.
That's absolutely true.
But I believe that they kind of, I mean, again, without saying it flat out, I think they imply it in a lot of ways through the dialogue. And this is just me going through what I've gone through in my life. And I think that if we're supposed to take the mother's story at face value, that he was not able to connect with the child because she was not able to connect with him emotionally. And that happens a lot. And that is personally something I've had to deal with, where one parent cannot understand how the child deals with emotions, and they take that personally. Right. And that's a big problem in a relationship. And that's where I'm saying, like, it may not have been either one of theirs fault. It's like, he may not have been necessarily a deadbeat dad, because she kind of says that he was a great dad to Trevor. It was just he couldn't connect with Phoebe.
Right. They did say he couldn't connect to Phoebe. Yeah, several times. And
again, like, we don't know the circumstances that led to their full breakdown. She's giving her side of the story. So
but you're excusing this, Tom.
I'm not excusing it at all.
When we talk about movies, usually we talk about how men are being completely put down in Hollywood movies.
The difference
nowadays.
here is this is a man we've never seen before. We have no attachment
to. This movie
to.
does that.
In what way?
But all the male
it
characters
doesn't
are actually
do it
quite positively
arbitrarily,
do
too.
better
That's
things.
the difference.
That's my point. Is it'd be different if it was
for no reason.
If they actually held true through the entire film of Harold Ramis being a deadbeat dad. I'd agree with you, Nina. The difference here is we're taking a character we never met, we have no attachment to. Let him be a deadbeat. That don't fucking matter. Whatever happened there.
It does matter.
It doesn't matter now.
Much.
It doesn't matter, because the son is not a deadbeat. He loves his sister. He cares about his mom. He goes for a job. Sure, he's getting stuff there. Podcast is really cool.
But Nina's talking about it from a message perspective, is what I believe. The continuation of that Hollywood message that men are bad.
But the thing is, they actually surprise you on that, because the one character that would be the continuation of that is not in the movie. All the other male characters are taking action and responsibility from their own interests and their own goals. Like the Ghostbusters, when they've learned that Egon has died and that he's at this town, they travel 21 hours to Oklahoma to help out their friend's kid.
That's my point. Yes.
That Egon is there as a spirit helping out his granddaughter and his grandchildren. Trevor is getting a job. Yes, granted, he's looking to get lucky, literally.
Lucky.
But he's getting a job. Paul Rudd finds a bright star in his class, and he decides to dedicate time to her. These are all positive masculine traits that are present in the movie. Even the sheriff, who's kind of a dick, is doing his job responsibly as the sheriff of the town. So
that's Bokeem Woodbine. Dick is on his resume. His look is Dick. So he's
the majority of the men in the movie, the majority of the males are basically decent human beings.
Right, but I think
I see it. I didn't see it like the way you guys did. I totally saw the opposite.
I can see how you're seeing it, because I saw that in the beginning, Nina. That's why I got it, what you were saying, but I just don't think it's overt, because all their other messages.
It's not overt. It's very subtle. It's very subtle, and that's why a lot of people are letting it pass. And
I'm not letting it pass. We're not going to say though that you can't have a movie with a deadbeat dad in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because here's the other part too. Everything that deadbeat dad would be is removed from the movie, and it's done thematically to basically say that these type of men aren't men and don't matter, and now we're going to focus on the ones that do.
And how did the little, like, the dude, what was his name, the kid,
podcast,
the brother, not the podcast,
Trevor,
how did he know how to fix a car? Like, did his dad teach him? His dad
might have showed him.
I mean, here's the common trait between the two kids. They like to do work on things.
Well, they kind of see that.
They did when they're traveling. When they're traveling,
the car breaks down.
The car breaks down. He fixes it,
which is a lot like the Karate Kid.
He technically didn't fix the Ecto one, because you kind of see
Egon did something.
Egon did
Egon did a little thing. Yeah.
So again, and again, that's where I have no problem with that part. But again, I'll agree with the whole, like, what's her face shouldn't have been there. But like,
I don't know why everybody hates Lucky.
It's not so much that I hate her. She's underutilized.
Exactly.
I think Lucky's a Mary Sue.
In fact, as far as the actress goes, I didn't mind the character personally. I didn't mind the actress. It's just that they didn't give her anything to do. And I agree with Nina and Steph and stuff like that, that when it comes to the end, they should have at least had one little quick scene where they kind of showed her how to use things.
Otherwise, she's a Mary Sue. Otherwise,
I actually liked her too, Jayne, and I don't think she's liked having that relationship of, like, the classic boy girl relationship being present in the movie. So I did like that. Like, I like that.
Well, she took him to the mine.
I don't think she's a Mary Sue. I think that she's a very convenient character.
Yeah,
not a Mary Sue.
That was actually probably more
appropriate. I wouldn't call her Mary Sue.
She's just a convenient character to have around.
Well,
I honestly think that Phoebe, right? That's her name. I don't know. And this is something that I took away. I don't know any of these characters' names.
Well,
if I really cared about them, if they told me something to get them invested, I would know their names. I'm learning them now.
I know Podcast's name because
I know Podcast because he stood out, and you know his name.
Him.
That's a good
I
character.
He was a shining star of the film. Actually,
He was.
I think my favorite line in the movie was when he was like, "You're my subscriber.
You're my only subscriber."
Right.
And you totally believe that. You totally believe that Ray is his subscriber.
Can I make one last point though to the positive male thing though? And I felt like to me was the moment in the film where I knew that they had done right by men, is because you have that moment where Phoebe finally shows some emotion to her mother, and it's, why didn't you tell me my grandfather was Egon Spangler?
Yeah.
So to me, to her, that meant the fucking world. It's like, I have done nothing but love science my whole life, and you kept from me that my grandfather was one of the most renowned modern scientists of our fucking time. You know, like that meant that's where she finally showed that emotion. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And to me, that was like, that was that moment was like, she didn't know her grandfather because she didn't have any clue. Right. And that was what I was trying to say before. And that's why I feel like it was that perfect age for her, because she's like, you know, I could have had this grandfather to look up to all these years, and you fucking kept him from me. And that's where I feel like
this is where I have a problem with it, Tom, because I think they could have done it so that she did have a relationship with him, not that he was just this absentee grandfather that she just finds out about.
But that's where it's the mom.
I still think that it would have still worked if the kid was like 15. I still think it would have worked. I still think it would have worked if they aged her up a little bit. She's too young.
I agree with you.
I think she's too young, and she could still have that innocence. She could still have that innocence because she's a genius.
Right, but even if they aged him up, Jayne,
she could still have that innocence. It would just be more believable that she's handling all of this tech.
I think Jayne is right. I don't know if they could have done it.
Jayne's point is if we age them up, which is what I want, and I agree with Stephanie there, is the fact that they would have to change the characters. Now, if they had to do that, I wouldn't want them to be older. Isn't that what you were saying earlier, Jayne?
Yeah, if they had aged them up, then you're looking at some of the adult tropes of modern filmmaking would have been attributed to them. It would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah, and then they let her look like a relationship. It would have been like, I don't know if I'm gay or
they would have had They would have had to have her sort of ambiguous.
She would have been.
They would have had to make her a podcast and romantic item as opposed to just being friends.
I don't think so. I don't think so because they're both incredibly socially awkward people. They wouldn't. No,
their relationship.
She didn't know her grandfather, but she was dressed exactly like him. I mean, she had the pocket protector wardrobe. Then she had the glasses, which of course that's for her eyes, genetics, and then the hair. I mean, are they saying everything is genetics?
They were.
She wasn't dressed exactly
there was an argument to be made there about eugenics, man.
Like Egon. That's what I'm talking about.
Not
you
really.
Don't think so?
Egon's dressed in suits all the time. She was wearing just like frumpy, like
she was wearing functional clothes.
Culottes. I was like, what is she wearing?
Her clothes were functional and her glasses were functional. Like the frames that Egon wears in the movie are like up here in Canada. Those are considered like their default functional frames.
Okay.
She was wearing his frames though, and I thought it was really cute.
No, I thought that was cute too. But those are like the basics, like the basic horn rimmed no style.
Outside of the ghost suit.
Like she looked at him. I know that she looked at him. I don't think she put him on.
Yeah, she looked at him. She looked at them, but like the way that the camera panned it out, it looked like the exact same frame.
That's what I thought.
It's the exact same frame. I don't know about
same frames.
Yeah.
But like, but it's like it was like an unintentional thing, but it was like intentional for the movie, but it's
supposed to show a little bit of kismet, like, oh, they have similar tastes.
They have similar tastes.
That's exactly a fun thing too. Like my grandfather left my family when I was 4 years old, and I didn't meet him again until I was 20. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even call him grandpa at that point. I used his real name. However, if I probably met him when I was like, got reconnected again with him like 8, 9, or 10, I probably would have had a stronger connection with him. And that actually is the true case with my cousin, one of my cousins, who he was the only one that spoke to my grandfather, and he was like 3 years younger than me, and they were close, really close by the time he passed away. But yeah, like what I ended up finding out as I learned more about him as I was older and we were talking, is that he and I had a lot of similar tastes and things in common, even though for 18 years I hadn't seen him.
You didn't know him. Yeah, you didn't
I
know
didn't
him at
know him.
all.
We just had similar tastes, similar approaches to things. And part of that probably happened by transference through his influence on my mom, and then my mom's influence on me, and that probably could be the
Sure.
same thing that we could apply with regards to
With
Phoebe
Egon.
and her mom. Like
Yeah.
her mom is basically cavalier, and like she cuts her son, and the first thing she says is "You'll live." So
Yeah, I
she's basically
know,
Yeah.
like
that's
she basically
nothing.
says like she basically gives trust to her kids to be able to have their own agency.
Well, she
Which I
does
think-
what single parents do. She treats
Yeah.
them like adults.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a single parent. It was
That's a
very
single-
accurate.
Yeah.
Real quick, Culture Casino, thank you so much for the $4.99. Says, so I'm not there to defend this film, but I support the amazing people like Nina and George, even when they're wrong. LOL, love you too, Culture.
he
But
loves
don't
the
worry,
film.
we have Tom, Script Doctor, and Jayne to defend your
Well, and I'm
honor
not
and
trying
your
to say that
perspective.
anybody's wrong. The only part I want to say that I feel like anybody's wrong on is I don't feel the wokeness, right? Like I didn't feel any fucking
I felt
wokeness
woke.
in this. It felt
I don't know if what I
all the
felt was
diversity felt
considered
natural.
woke.
Yeah,
Like,
The
all the
I
diversity
don't
diversity
know.
didn't
felt
bother me.
natural.
The diversity, I didn't get that. The woke got me, not the diversity. I don't
I
care
still
about the
don't
diversity.
see the woke
I don't
factor.
know.
I guess
Like
I'm not,
like somebody brought up like on Twitter like biracial relationship, and I didn't
yeah,
get
that's where
that.
it
Like I
lost
was like
me in that
that's a
argument. Yeah.
stretch there. Like I don't see
Well, that's
stuff
the
like
kind of
that
knee
as
jerk shit I'm
woke.
talking about that we
I
cannot
don't
just be
care about
like,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't care
care
about
about
any of
that.
that.
I mean, okay, so outside of the Gozer scene, then George, what else did you? What are you referring
Again,
to?
I
'Cause,
feel
like,
I feel that
Hold
I
on,
say
keep
it
that
again,
thought. Keep that
androgynous.
thought, George. Keep that thought because I want to get through some of these super chats and catch up with the chat here. Matthew Valanti, thank you so much for the $5. Says plus they erased Ghostbusters 2016. How will SJWs react when it becomes a big hit at the box office and they announce the sequel? And I think it is becoming
Oh,
a
the
big
Re's
hit
already
at
begun.
Oh, they're freaking out right now.
Yeah, they are.
absolutely hate this movie.
That's what's so hard for me. Is like I want to root for it just because the critics hate it because they hate the fact that the fans hated 2016, and when professional critics hate a movie, I really have a knee jerk reaction to go the other way and go, "Hey, fuck you."
Some of them are literally saying this was just to pacify the people who didn't like The Last Jedi. I'm like, The Last Jedi?
Yeah.
How do you leap to that?
There's no connective tissue between them. That's why they're pissed because their pet project 16 shit the bed. Pardon my language.
I saw a little bit of that in terms of like how I felt with regards to how people's reaction was and how my reaction was. Like I think that like for example, like my initial reaction for Ghostbusters was like I didn't really like it all that much, and then when I because I had known that there was a lot of people that did like it, I was like, well, I don't understand why I'm so different and like how I see things so differently than like everybody else. And to me, it felt a little bit like this was like the Mandalorian of Ghostbusters, that people went through something so tragic, which was basically The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, that they were like so completely checked out of this. They were like, oh my God, this was so fucking terrible that anything that you give us, we're gonna accept and we'll cry over.
I disagree with that.
I disagree with that.
I think that's what I felt about this Ghostbusters.
I mean,
that this was
I
just
respect.
whatever.
No,
I respect that you feel that way, but I disagree with that.
I disagree with that as well. I don't think that. I don't think that it's like the Mandalorian, and there will. I feel okay. I feel like with the case of the little girl, yes. A part of me is like, you're excusing away a lot of stuff with this kid right here. I really think that she's a Mary. I really think that she's a Mary Sue. She could do it all. It's just kind of like you're excusing it away.
Well, she couldn't break that magnetic lock.
that is something that. But they do get it open thoh, don't they?
Well, yeah, podcast gets it open
with Muncher.
By the way, I didn't understand
yeah.
how podcast knew like how the hatch opened in the car and stuff like that.
Nina. Yeah, that's
you're absolutely
How
right.
did you know this?
What is
he
that?
Accidentally did the latch.
He accidentally kicked the latch. Yeah,
kicked the latch for the sidecar part.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
No, not the sidecar. Like
Well, you're talking about the
Archie
RC
hatch
trap,
when he
the
yeah.
puts
RC
the
robot.
fucking thing through
Yeah,
the
for the car.
R2D2 thing or the little
The
car.
RC
dude.
Some of that
car.
might have been automatic when you do certain things.
Well, here's
like,
the other part too.
No,
with,
he hit a button and he knowingly hit a button and it opened and then he
I thought
put
they
the
were
thing- I was like,
smashing
how do you
buttons.
know this?
Hold on.
No, no,
Let me
he's-
finish what I was gonna say. Let me finish.
Sure,
what I was
yeah,
gonna
let's
say.
finish that.
'Cause
Okay.
I don't think that this is like the Mandalorian for people, and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, like a Luke Skywalker moment. I don't believe that. I think that this is a good, and I don't believe that people are going to excuse a lot of things in this movie, because of Ghostbusters 2016, and we're going to, oh, thank God it's not as bad as that. Just give me anything. No, I still have standards for movies that I watch. I still want a good story.
There you go.
I still want something, I still want to be delivered something that's good. It's not, but they need to give us this because it's not that woke. It just has a little bit. So just excuse it. We're in a battle. No, I still have standards for the movies that I watch. And that's why with this movie, I'm just kind of like, it was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it was okay. It wasn't as horrible as 2016 was because it respected, it respected the source. It respected the Ghostbusters property. It did that. It didn't disrespect any of the original characters, particularly Spangler's character. I absolutely love that. I love the fact that he was present throughout the entire movie. However, I still think that the story in this is very lacking, and that's why I'm just kind of like, it was just okay. It's not the greatest thing, but it's okay. I can gripe and nitpick at this thing all I want. But at the end of the day, where they needed to respect the fans and really respect the characters, I think they did that. It's a good love letter. That's what I say. It's a love letter. It's a love letter to the fans. It's a love letter to the people who love the property. It's a love letter to Harold Ramis. It's a good movie in that respect. Where it starts being a Ghostbusters movie for me is that last half hour. That's where I was just like, oh man, it's over. It's just getting started for me.
Can we just real quickly address Jayne's comment here? They did okay by Black Girl. She wasn't a thief and wasn't masculine. You're not wrong.
They could have gone in a really bad direction.
You know what? You're not wrong, because initially when I saw her, because my husband had just mentioned to me about that other girl looking like a boy, I was like, well, at least this one looks like a girl, and I like her hair because she's got curly hair. So I was like, I like her. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with her at all. I thought she was a good.
Well, on that note, can I address real quick? I think where George was going with the androgynousness of Phoebe.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Normally, okay, let's say this. Like, if she was, and this is where I think Jayne is dead on with, half of the equation of why I think these are kids. The other half is just because, age-wise, for Egon to have had a kid, we didn't see him have any kids in the first two movies. This is about where the kid would be, and if they had grandkids, etc. That's about age-wise.
Yeah,
but
the mother's like 40.
Exactly. The other side of this is, if she was a teenager, they would have to address it, or Hollywood would hold them to task for it. And in the fact that they did not give her any way, shape, or form, one way or the other, like, to me is better, because that's the way Egon kind of is like, he has no interest in sex at all, really. Because look at, like, you got fucking Janine all over him in Ghostbusters, and he's just like, whatever, kind of thing. But like, I mean, he's showing interest in his own way, where Phoebe, I think, we'll eventually maybe get to see whatever she is. I don't think they were playing with this androgynousness so much as just trying to make her like kind of like this second, like, kind of image of a Spangler, what, the next
she was a functional kid. She did not care about fashion or style. Here's the other part too. When she's telling the jokes to Gozer, she's actually kind of cheerful and a bit more animated than you ever see her throughout the rest of the movie.
You see a bit of that Spangler smirk in her, yes.
Well, not only that, like, she actually, like, when she does the whole part, and she throws out her hands and she shakes a little bit like a kid trying to gain attention to an adult, like, that's like a very pure aspect of her, and it's very different from what we've seen so far. But she graduates to that over the movie by being able to socialize with someone like Podcast, who on the first day they're hanging out and he says, do you want to be my lab partner? She's like, I don't know if we have labs, but I would love that. She uses that word, love. I mean, that's not something you get from an Egon in the old days. So she has an echo of her grandfather in there by happenstance, if you want to call it that. But she's definitely still of her own character. She's definitely not as isolated as we are led to believe.
I disagree a little bit about their again, and I mean talking about all their reactions with regards to what happened to their mom. Because if my mom got taken over by a demon dog, I would freak out a little bit more. None of them freaked out. Like they're like, oh, okay.
Well,
like,
neither did Bill Murray.
Demon dog now.
Yeah.
Just a demon dog. Okay.
Well,
I mean,
she's a
Trevor
dog.
kind of freaked out a little bit. The Lucky did. Podcast
Trevor
did
a
when,
little bit, but
I
not
mean,
Podcast
everybody
did
else.
when the mom tried to hit on him.
But in the first movie, everyone would have been freaking. I mean, people wouldn't be chasing down these things if they were real. I mean, the reactions have to be contained a little bit for the movie.
I say
to
Bill
exist.
Murray's reaction to when Dana turns into the dog was, oh, well, she's a dog.
Oh my god. I think you're muted, Steph.
I said Bill Murray was also an adult. These are kids.
I
That's
get that,
exactly
but
what I mean. Like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Those
but
kids
when they
tend
first
to
saw
handle
Ghost,
stuff
they
like that
ran
well.
out of there really fast. Like they built up a certain sense of threshold and tolerance.
well, and here's
That-
one thing I want to say
When they
about
first saw a ghost, she was just like, "Let's go get it. Let's go. Let's go."
Well, no, that was
she
Ray.
was so like she
Ray
didn't
doing
care.
that.
So she's
real quick
so
too.
she's
Culture
now
Casino,
Ray
this
as well.
is for you. Steph is an amazing middle ground, and I love that she stands her ground. Please do these more. So yes, please continue what you were gonna say.
Thank you. I have a problem with the little girl. I have a problem with her. I think that her everything is being very excused with her.
Yeah, I
character.
feel that too. Like it's okay. She's just a genius,
Oh, but
everybody.
It's all right. She's just a genius. It's okay. No, that's Ray. That's Ray coming out in her. It's like, no, what?
No,
I
no.
I don't know.
no
I
one
just
said
don't-
anything about that. He was pointing out that Ray was the one that said get her. And as far as
No,
like,
but I mean, like in no, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't like this girl. I don't.
well, and that's fair. And again,
I just don't like. No. I like her. She's good. She's a good character. Tone it down a little.
no, and that's totally
real
fair. But we're
quick-
like,
Real quick, I'm sorry. George, I think has to take off now.
Aw.
So George, thank you so much for coming
Thank
to hang
you.
out with us tonight.
Thank you for
it's
having
an
me.
absolute pleasure to hang out with you. Please tell everybody where they can find you, George.
Okay, everyone, you can go to my channel, George the Giant Slayer. I have videos up. Had the Kyle Rittenhouse, and tomorrow, Tuesday, I'll have the Ghostbusters review. There will be spoilers, obviously. And thank you for having me on. Always love the chat, Stephanie,
George.
Jayne. I always love what you have to say. I love your side. No, you have great opinions. Nina, always Infinite Hope, and Script Doctor, and my great friend Tom. Thank you. See you later,
George.
everybody. Thank
Good
you.
Take it
night.
easy, sir.
Really
night.
enjoyed your takes, George. Take care and have a
Thank you.
great night.
You
Good
too.
night.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Love George. George.
I just wanted to make one point that maybe will,
Yes.
because I know Steph has been saying we've been just excusing away Phoebe, and that's a fair assessment to a point. Let me just say this much: the difference here between like Phoebe and say Ray is Ray gets into a fucking ship and she knows how to bypass the fucking plot through the whole goddamn thing, right? Like at least Phoebe is the proton pack and the ghost traps are pretty like they're pretty simplified to where like I noticed this when I was watching the 2016 movie this morning. They overcomplicate that shit. They over fucking explain it. And that's
Yeah,
where it's like,
they do.
I'm glad they don't have like a ton of exposition because you know what? Phoebe is smart enough that, and I know I'm not excusing this away because she's smart, but she's just smart enough to see like, she figures out, okay, this is what this does. Okay, well, obviously I'm going to point the pointy end and it's going to work like this. And the trap does this. It's pretty simplified. It's not like flying a fucking spaceship.
Oh, it's a very intuitive system, but the mechanics of it are very complex. But the other part that I thought was kind of funny is like, how did you know how to do this? And then he does the lamp over to like the wall of degrees. And she's like, oh, you're a super genius. And I mean, that was kind of funny. But the only thing that she was able to really figure out on to a degree on her own was basically those two capacitor pieces
right
in the centrifuge. And the rest, we have no idea how long she'd been spending to do,
because otherwise Egon points her.
Didn't she confined to that thing during the night, and then the next is the following day that she's testing it or something?
And Egon walks her through the whole thing. I think that's one thing everybody's overlooking is he walks her down into the basement or whatever it is down there.
Yeah,
and then he's actually pointing to her with the lights and stuff, what she needs to grab, what she needs to get, and she's kind of following along. And that's kind of where the scene cuts, like Script was saying. So, like again, I feel like you guys aren't giving enough credit to the fact that.
But there are limits, Tom, because he's a ghost. He's not actually teaching her what to do.
But
I don't think she knows how to do it on her own.
At least there's some explanation. I mean, it's not like with Ray where there was absolutely
Exactly.
none.
That's my
Right.
point. That's my point. Is
You
There's a
what's her
connective tissue.
explanation? She's just a genius.
Yeah, but there
What
was
is her explanation?
No, the
other than the
explanation for her
fact
being
that
a
she's a
genius,
genius, other than
that
the fact
only
that she's really
but that
smart. What is
that
it?
only applies to the things having to do with math and science where it's not complicated. Nothing they showed that she knew was complicated.
That's
But
true.
they
As far as
also
that's
had the
concerned.
same explanation, Jane, with Ray, because we actually got told that, like, and again, I haven't seen the Rise of Skywalker, so I don't know this part, but like in the Last Jedi, I remember like they were talking about how like she went through some training, and from what I understand, like, because she went through the like some more training in the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker, so people are like, that makes her like a not Mary Sue, and we're like, yeah, but the level in which that she progressed in compared to Luke, and how Luke progressed in his training, and how long he spent on Dagobah with Yoda, and like all the stuff, the timing doesn't make any sense, because she was like a freaking Jedi master within like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're comparing
But
a
that's
Jedi
not
master
fair.
to somebody being able to put together a fairly.
We're talking about a
point-
No, I'm sorry.
12-year-old girl.
She's almost unbelievably smart.
I
That's
Really?
where
Really, I
don't
don't get this
see that
she's
because
at all
almost
with the math and
unbelievably
science
smart.
I think you guys
mean,
weren't
come
paying
on.
attention to how much Egon was helping her in that scene. Like he was.
Oh,
everywhere. Yeah.
I was very much paying attention to that, because up until then, I was just like, this chick can do it all. Oh shit, she's about to do the proton.
Not
I was very much
really.
paying attention to her character, and that's why I really don't like her character. So yeah, it cuts away. So what? He gonna like light everything that she needs to pick up, and she just automatically knows where to put it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I just don't
There's some
understand,
limits
because
to
now
a ghost
there have
giving you guidance. Like she was like, okay,
It's so much better than her
where's
just
the needle
bypassing the
pose
power
plier? And
link or
he
whatever the
pointed
fuck,
like
like
to
with
the
Ray.
needle
I
pose
mean,
plier, but how she's supposed to like meld all that shit together, or like this, I don't know. It just doesn't
look,
feel
the
right that she
proton
would do it
packs are
so
not that.
quickly.
They're
You
It
not
guys
makes
are
that
sense
acting
that
like the
it takes her
proton packs
months
are
to
some.
do.
This is
And
what I was
you're-
getting at with this watching the 2016 movie. You guys are acting like the proton packs are some fucking like extravagant thing. They're not. They're just a powered accelerator that throw proton particles. That's all it is.
It was
that's all
It's
it
not
is.
like it's like simplified like fucking science shit. Like they just figure out how to contain it. That's all it
Yeah, but
is.
That's all
you're
it
you're
is.
asking us to suspend our disbelief, and that's okay because it's Ghostbusters.
It's
No,
not
it's
so
not
much that it's suspension of
It's
disbelief.
But
It's
how?
technology that
but-
exists anyway.
here's
the
thing,
beauty
here's
of
the
it is
thing.
that Dan Aykroyd based all this shit in real fucking science, right? Like this is all shit that it's like typical
She would
basic
know.
like proton shit that she could look up in a book.
I mean, you just criticize us for calling the high school kids dumb or whatever kids these were in her class.
Sure, yeah,
I mean,
because they're
she
regular
isn't.
kids.
Exactly.
But she
Those are regular
wasn't. She
kids.
was
They
supposed to
can
be a
figure it
genius
out.
kid, right?
Yeah.
But she is a genius. So this would come naturally to her.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the first
Yeah,
thing
we
she
get the
comments
first
on
thing we
is-
see her doing is she's changing line voltage of 120 volts to 220 in a home, and she screws up at it. But even the fact
But
that
she
the
can
ability
fix
to try
it.
to
I can fix it.
she says she can, but we don't know if she did, but because they're
She
kicked out of that
probably-
They
apartment.
left already because they were getting evicted, and the
They
mom
got
needed to
evicted.
leave.
She made
Okay,
a
like
mistake. She can fix it. It's not like, oh shit, I made a mistake. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
but like you
Mom.
got to look at it like basically
bad.
all Ray
And now
and
it's like something
Well,
that
why
someone
wouldn't she
else
be
needs
able
to
to
come in and
fix
help and
it
fix.
though?
You know, if she was if she could say like, I could fix it. If it was something where like there's a limit to what she can do, and she made that mistake, and she's like, I'm sorry, and they have to like, if it was just like this curiosity type thing that she's into or something, she's still a genius, but it's not like I'm doing all of this shit and I accidentally made a quick mistake, but don't worry, I can fix it. As opposed to, Phoebe, you
Well,
did
here's
it
the other
again.
part too.
I
When
did it
someone
again.
says I
Sorry.
can
Lying
fix
is
it, that's
shit.
them
We
saying I
can't-
screwed up and I'm sorry. When they say I can
Yeah, but
fix it,
I
that's
mean,
them trying to
it's more
apologize.
like,
and
okay,
correct
should we
it.
get an electrician in here now and actually have a professional look
Well,
at this, or
no,
okay,
like
so you're
Valiant
gonna
is
try
right.
it
Like she
again?
just
I don't.
this is the point I was trying to get to. Is like, okay, first of all, like she looks at the proton pack and it's kind of like it's basically like what Iron Man has in his heart, right? Like she looks at it, she goes, "Oh, how did you figure out how to get a nuclear accelerator so small?" Right? So at that point, she's asking him questions. We don't know. Maybe he's answering her in her head. We don't know this. We
That's
never get to hear his
headcanon,
voice.
Tom. You
Yeah,
can't
that
could
part
very
would be
well be.
headcanon, but he directs
But
her to his degrees, and
the
she's like,
point
I
is-
can make the assumption there.
Exactly. Yes. So like
Exactly.
That's fine. I believe
we get a
that.
lot of it right there. Like she already kind of understood. Like we get this idea that she's kind of looking at this like, okay, she kind of fundamentally understands what her grandfather put together here. It's pretty basic, is my point.
She doesn't know how to build it herself, and she wouldn't know how to reverse engineer it, but with age, she can probably replace the parts. And that's all she really was doing, was replacing parts. And anyone that can pull up, like, plug and play stuff. Like if you want to pull your chip out of your hard your computer, you have that little lever and it releases it and it pops it out, and you can put another one back in and close the lever. It's very intuitive, and a lot of stuff that's in the Ectomobile is also the same thing. They have all these analog levers, and the kid just pulled on one and it popped open the RC controller with the trap on it. He popped up another lever and that just dropped down. That knocked Phoebe out into the sidecar. He pulled another lever and it opened up a panel that the RC driver remote control car could go down. Like, he's just experimenting with this stuff. It's not like it's, I'm an expert at this, 1959 Cadillac and all. Well,
not only that, they destroy half the fucking town. Like, we're overlooking that aspect. Like, when the Ghostbusters first used their proton packs in the Cedric Hotel, they damn near kill a lady, right? But that's like the
extent. And they destroy that party room.
Yeah, and they destroy that party room. But at that point, they get a pretty quick grasp of how to use the equipment. Like, she destroys half the fucking town, and they tell her that by
and then she proceeds to point it at that cop. That's when I was like, dude, she would die.
She might have done that, but she still captured a ghost.
Yeah, but she needed the help of 2 other people to do it.
Yeah, it wasn't like she did it all
because
by
she couldn't
herself
drive.
either.
I'm sure if she would be able to drive, if she was able to drive, she'd be able to do it on her own.
But see, that's headcanon.
See, that's your headcanon, yeah.
And
because again, she's doing the trap. She's got the proton collider.
Now I see why she's 12.
The trap, and
now I see why she's 12. Because if she was
she
older
couldn't
and
drive.
she was able to drive, then she would be able to drive and do it on her own. But now I see why she's 12, because she needs the help of other people to take her
she needs
somewhere
with a driver's license.
My problem is you guys are making her out to be a lot more than she actually
is. Yeah.
Compared to
although
Ray.
the brother also didn't have a driver's license. We were told.
Yeah.
Well, he's 15, so he's yeah.
But apparently he failed his driver's test 3 times.
Yeah, but he's 15, so all we know is that's probably the writer's test, not the actual
driving. I failed
test.
my driver's test like 5 times, Nina. Look.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying he was driving because with no license too.
But
so that's
kids do that.
Yeah, that's why they got arrested.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the first reason why they got arrested.
People do that all the time.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty realistic.
And especially in a farm town, there's lots of kids that start driving like before the age of 15.
I love that scene actually where he starts joyriding in the field. Yeah. That was a great scene when he's like, woo! And he like started working.
See, and that's what
anyone else hoping that he would spell out "Let's go, Brandon" in the
that would have been
amazing. The funny thing about that scene is that people are missing that ride would not have been that smooth.
No,
because of the ridges in the ground for all the crops.
No, I had a problem with that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that smooth.
Well,
I guess the shocks that Ray replaced with him back in '84 still hold up.
I was going to say, I mean, they should have at least made it look like Egon was maintaining that vehicle, because I don't know a shit ton about vehicles, but I'll tell you what, a vehicle that's sitting and not doing anything for a long time.
In a barn under a tarp for maybe 20 years.
Takes a little bit more work than what he put into it. So I'm hoping that that's the case. But again, I'm not trying to put headcanon in there. Yeah, and that's the thing, like
Valiant Renegade saying, I rebuilt a car when I was 17 with guidance. Yeah, see, like he had no guidance.
But we saw from the beginning that he was familiar with cars and how to work on them. So there's no reason to believe
he knew that car was a Cadillac. You know how many kids his age these days would know that car, that ambulance version of a Cadillac
my kid
is
would.
a Cadillac?
That's why my kid knows it. He knows that car, but he's never seen Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Because he
my God, really?
He's autistic and he knows everything about cars.
Oh,
trust me,
so
he'll tell you what every car is, what year it is. He knows everything about them. And
my 3-year-old nephew knew that.
He must love the movie My Cousin Vinny because it's all about cars.
No, he's never watched it, but I would.
Movie.
I bet you would love it.
From beginning to end. It's one of my favorite
That's the thing.
movies.
When he was like Phoebe's age, he was not into movies or anything. He was into only his little electronic things and things that he would do, and he would put together shit that would fucking blow up in anybody else's face. But I was like, how the hell did you get that together with chicken wire? But whatever, it was like, that's how I understood, and I understood Phoebe, like, and I liked the character, and I understand where people don't. I guess my only problem is, I cannot have the woke argument about this movie because I don't see it.
I don't
really,
see the wokeness
really
either.
I don't necessarily see woke either.
If there was, like, I was seeing it in the men, right? Because I totally agree with you, Nina. I was seeing it, but it got especially for Egon, it got kind of wrapped up at the end
Mhm.
And we don't really learn any more about the dad other than he's just not there.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, everything else was
And then
very
Paul
organic.
Rudd's character
Everything
too,
else
like
was very organic. It didn't really, nothing stuck out to me, and that's actually how I like the movies. The story takes precedent over whatever you feel is woke. You know what I mean? So like, if you
Mhm.
don't like that, oh shit, Egon's not there. Are you kidding? He's deadbeat. What? When Ray said Egon Spangler could go to hell, I was just like, oh hell no.
My gut dropped,
I got
man.
really mad. I got really mad. I was like, are you fucking
But
kidding me?
you're supposed
but
to.
his reaction when he learned he died, that changed the entire tone of that
Exactly,
scene.
it did.
Yeah,
It
I like
really
that
did.
too.
It
Yeah.
really did. It changed it. And so I was kind of like, all right, let's
And
see.
that's one of the things is, yes, it's
So-
not a perfect movie, but I was more emotionally invested in this movie than I have been in anything in years. I think Spider-Man was the last time I remember being this emotionally thrilled by something. I mean, and again, that's why I say the movie's like an 8 out of 10 at best, but the experience for me was a 10 out of 10. Like I felt like I haven't felt in so long.
I felt that joy with Dune. I mean, like very recently, like that was the most recent.
I loved Dune too, so I can
thought
understand
Dune
that,
was
yeah.
freaking amazing.
I did say that it had
I
like a
didn't like
classic
this one.
feel. Well, and that's understandable.
Yeah. And then that's again, that's okay. We don't have to all love or, agree on everything. But like, would I watch this movie again? No. Would I watch the first two again? Absolutely. Like in a heartbeat, I would watch the first two Ghostbusters again.
Well,
Whereas
I
in
just
this
want to
one,
address the
I
one
don't think
thing
I'd
in
ever
the
watch this
chat,
again.
if I can.
Sure.
Katrina Martin, maybe you don't want to see it as well. Oh no, trust me, if I saw it, I would be completely honest about this movie. I have no reason not to, like at this point. Like I have been so knee deep in this shit that like a lot of other people, I catch myself chasing ghosts, right?
Are you talking about this comment that you're addressing?
No. She said earlier, before, maybe you're not seeing the woke.
Oh, maybe you're not seeing
No.
the woke.
And
Okay.
again, I am so attuned to that shit that I have to sometimes turn that part of my brain off. Trust
Mhm.
me. Like I was looking for it throughout the movie and I just didn't see it. And that's why I want to rewatch it again where I can just relax and watch the movie. Because I was
Mhm.
completely on guard through this whole movie. And it broke me down, and it was well before that last 20 minutes. Like when like I said, when my gut dropped when I heard Ray say Egon Spengler can rot in hell. Like I can't even fucking say it now. Like it gets me emotional thinking about it. Like it got me emotionally invested, just like Cobra Kai did, even more so. Like that's my point. And again, I can understand, Steph and Nina not liking the movie for various reasons, but I don't see the woke, and I kind of at this point where I'm basically putting my foot down on the whole, like I kind of refuse to have this argument with people that it's woke, because it's not. And we have to acknowledge that, because it's not in a sense that we have seen all this crap in the last 20 years,
Well,
especially in the last 5
I
years.
think there's definitely subliminal woke in there, Tom. Like I'm not
I
gonna
don't know
say
about
it's
that. I
definitely
think maybe
not
because you're
that,
chasing
but
ghosts there, hun. I'm sorry.
no,
I don't.
You're Ghostbusters.
If it's there, it's I think it's very organic. Everything is.
It's not a pontification.
No, not at all. With Egon, it wraps up at the end. His daughter finally sees that. Oh, he was there. He was there watching me. They get
Like a stalker.
they get to
but
hug
to
at the
me,
end.
I have a
But there
disagreement
still
with
are
that.
some
I
little
don't think that
nitpicky
that's a
things in
wrap
this
up.
movie that for me it just, I don't know.
To me, it's not a wrap up, because I disagree about like a father, like an absentee father being there only to take pictures and then like not actually being in the girl's life. I feel like there's a lot of things that could have been handled differently, and I think it could have been a way better movie had they actually had a father-daughter relationship going on in this movie, like an actual father-daughter relationship. You could make Paul Rudd the dad, take out the absentee father completely, have another rando teacher, and then have the dad actually be a seismologist that's taking care of his family. And then you can have a very good movie of a daughter and a father and all this other stuff, and it would make it a much better movie. But instead, they went with deadbeat dads, and let's do this, and then have this random scene in the end so that we can say that he wasn't deadbeat. He just he was sacrificing everything to be like for his family. But I just don't see it like that. I think that they could have done it a lot better. But
I think it could have been done. I think the story was lacking, and it picked up in that last 25 minutes. I don't really care for the character, the little girl, as you all know. I don't really care for her. There are some things that I could be extremely nitpicky with this movie, but it's not bad. The rewatchability for me is not there.
yeah,
It's not
me
there.
either.
I could rewatch that last half hour over and over and over because I think that last half hour is the feeling you get is like I don't know. It's just that is just lacking in the movie.
What
It's
about
just,
Jayne? What about you, Jayne? Can you watch this movie again? What do you think about the
Oh, I did.
rewatchability
I
of
did.
this?
I watched it twice in the theaters. It's the type of movie I would probably watch again,
Okay.
and probably watch it back to back with the original.
Oh wow. Okay, so you really liked it that much.
I really liked it.
That's great. And
Now,
then
I
what
do
about
agree with you about they could have done it differently as far as the father's concerned. I think that would have been a better movie. But to me, something is woke when it's contrived. When they just
Mhm.
throw
Yeah.
it in there and there's no reason, no explanation, it doesn't flow with the story. It's
Yeah.
just simply there to be there. And I just don't get that here. Because
Right.
again, my main issue at first was the girl being androgynous. But in the context of the story, it made more sense to me. And I could say, okay, well, I see where they were going with this. It wasn't
Mhm.
just arbitrary. And so for me, I didn't really get the wokeness that, I kind of expected a little bit initially.
Okay, well, very good.
yeah.
What about
I
you,
didn't
script
I didn't
doctor?
get the little girl's androgyny at all. Like
I didn't either.
that
Yeah,
didn't
it didn't
that
bother me
didn't
at
hit
all.
me at all. Yeah,
I
I didn't
didn't
get that
either.
at all. The only thing that I was just I had to really suspend my disbelief, and we could argue about it all day. That's
Yeah.
fine. We could argue, but I was just like, dude, you can't just be a genius at everything. Are you kidding? Like we could argue about it all day, but I'm just like I can't get over that.
And see,
Yeah.
I
I'm the
found
same.
that bit about her to be more relatable. And to me, that made sense because of Egon and who he was and how his character was. I got that they were paralleling the two. And I
Yeah, and I
saw a
think we
lot
even
of him in
see
her.
I think
Yeah,
we
and
even
I
kind of
see.
get to see a little bit of how like I love to think that, and again, this is my own personal headcanon, but I love to think that the way that her and Podcast met and became friends is the same exact way that Ray and Egon became friends.
Mhm.
I like
I do see.
I
I do
I
see the
like that in
parallels.
the movie.
I
That was
do see
my
the
favorite part.
parallels, and I love the parallels. Like I really do. In that
Mhm.
aspect, I like it. I just don't like that they're children, and I haven't liked that they are children since the trailer, since the very first trailer. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
like
didn't
that the
like that
movie
either. Because to
was
me,
with
and
with kids.
I think maybe it's similar to you, Steph. Like the original Ghostbusters was about grown ass men dealing with a very silly, weird situation where they're dealing with ghosts and the supernatural, and they have to like kind of like figure that out. Whereas in here, they just turned it into like kids, and I feel like it's not as good when it's about kids. Like I don't know, because grown-ups have different takes than children do. And I think
Yeah.
that gets lost in this
Mhm.
one. So
On
I
the
don't
on the other hand, if I look at this movie as a love letter to fans, as a love letter to Harold Ramis, as a love letter to Egon, in that aspect with the family aspect, I can say it is a good movie. I can see why people are connected with it. But
yeah.
because it has the, Ghostbusters name on it, I'm just kind of like, well, give me more of a Ghostbusters movie because it's just not
Yeah,
really
I can
there
see
yet
that
for
too,
me.
and
You know what I mean?
I like it as a kids movie. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think this is a definite kids movie. I can see why a lot of parents like it because I've had to I have to suspend my disbelief so many times in the movie that I'm like, well, okay, like and that's what you usually do for kids movies, and I'm totally fine with that. Kids movies are great. You need that. You need more of that. I think it could have been a better kids movie with more positive messages, but here we are, like this is the one that we got, and that's okay. That's okay. Rudy had an interesting message saying, honest opinion, right or wrong, I love that there are women on the lookout to call out woke or knocking down one race or gender in favor of flavor of the month, race or gender. I think that's I think that's why I love having uh you know all sorts of different takes it's good to have, like, even when, you know, it's different than yours. Like, I
Well,
didn't like the movie, but
Well, Script needs to give his take on this, and maybe this is where some of the woke is coming from, is because this movie is inclusive in a sense of family, not so
Mhm.
much in diversity. It's more about a
Yes.
group, and that's where I think Script is also right, where this is not necessarily a Ghostbusters 3 so much as it's more of a Cobra Kai scenario. It's
It's
kind
a
of
movie
more
in the Ghostbusters universe that's connected to Ghostbusters.
exactly. It's kind of an epilogue to
Mhm.
to Egon's story, and I feel like anything we get from here on out is going to be built off that end credit scene. I think we're going to
Mhm.
see ghost cores grow. I think we're going to see like maybe a couple different ghost teams. So I think maybe you guys will get your wish then. And I believe like, and that's kind of where I kind of lay in this movie is like, is it everything I wanted it to be? Oh, fuck no. I mean,
Okay.
like, yes, is it perfect film? Oh no, I said it's about 8 out of 10 at the best. But the
Mhm.
experience to me was something that I have not had in a theater in a long time, and
Mhm.
I'm really sad that, you know, specifically you, Nina, and to a lesser extent Steph, didn't have the same experience I did. And it could
Oh,
also be that I'm 20 years older than you guys, and I grew up with Ghostbusters and all that shit
oh,
too.
no.
There is that aspect to it as well.
Yeah, I'm not
I
saying I
didn't hate
didn't have
it.
a good experience. I cried when, when I saw Egon's hand. Did give me some Harry Potter vibes, but I did, I did, I, I
Yeah, it
did
got me in the
when he
feels
was
when I
there,
saw Egon. Yeah.
when
But
he
yeah,
was
I mean, this
there
just
with
took
them,
me.
when Gozer tore apart, the three, she's uncrossing the three streams, and the only way that they could defeat her again was with Egon. They needed that fourth stream that they were missing before, and that's why she was able to overpower them. They needed that fourth, so I absolutely loved that. Hey, I loved that. And
Mhm.
when he was there, I love the fact that he didn't talk. Not in the beginning.
That was a smart move.
I
Very
like that
smart move.
too.
I love the fact that he didn't talk. He just gave that beautiful smile of his. That's what I'm saying. I absolutely love the last part of the movie. I cried when I saw that last part of the movie. It gave me chills, and I love how they executed it. They handled
Mhm.
it with care, whereas they could have went in a totally different direction and, did like a Princess Leia type thing, and that wouldn't have worked. But with
Mhm.
this, they took so much care for this character because, like I said, it feels like a love letter to Spangler, to his family. And
Mhm.
that's where, I did leave feeling like, gosh, yeah, you remember that last part of the movie, but
Mhm.
it's also but I can't forget the first part of the movie that I kind of didn't like. That's why it's like, I like it, but I don't like it too. I love how it
Yeah.
made me feel at the very end because they executed it so well, and it makes you like, it gives you that kind of closure that was missing because we weren't ever going to be able to see all four of them together as Ghostbusters, but in the way that they did it, we were able to see them together as Ghostbusters. So it's like, wow, the way they executed it was beautifully done, and I loved that part of the movie. But I also don't love the leading
The
up to
rest.
that part of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's fair, and that's why I
Um,
tell people, if you don't like Phoebe, you're not gonna like this movie, and that's where
real quick, Tom.
that's where my difference comes in. Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
sorry.
real quick. Jayne has to leave us. So
Yes.
Jayne,
Aw.
thank you so much for being here tonight
Thanks
and
for having me.
just giving us all your feedback and everything. I value you and your opinions so much. So please tell
Aw.
everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube where I post movie and television reviews, occasionally some pop culture commentary. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jane Theory.
Thank you so much, Jayne.
Thanks for having
Jayne's links are in the
me.
description. Everybody, make sure you're subscribed. Have a great night. Take care,
Bye,
Jayne.
Jane.
Thanks. Good night, guys. I see you again,
Bye.
Steph.
Night.
Again, real quickly here, we got a big super chat from Raymond Hoy. Thank you so much for the $50. That's so generous of you. It says, I loved this movie. My main concern was how would they treat the memory of Harold Ramis, and I felt that they respected him and gave him his due as Egon Spangler. For me, so much of the movie hinged on that, and I felt it worked in the end I cried. Oh, that is so sweet. And I think I like that. I like that last scene too. I didn't cry personally, but I can understand why people did. I did like it though. It got me in the feels. Like I was like, oh yay, he's helping them and he's there. Like, you know, like it was like a real sweet moment, especially because I was like George at that scene when he wasn't on on the screen, and she's like, you know, like she's like holding her own and she's like, yeah, girl. And she's like, I was like, oh my God, this girl's just, she's good at everything. God damn it. I was like, Steph. And then all of a sudden, like the camera pans out.
I was about to
and,
get
like,
pissed there too. Don't
Yeah.
think for a moment that I wasn't. Like until that he showed up there too, I was the same point. And I agree
Yeah.
with you though, Raymond. And again, I didn't cry, but my 5-year-old self did. In the
Aw.
inside. Like, and that's
Your
the whole
inner
point.
child.
Yes, my inner child did definitely cry, and that's what I was just saying is like I get it if you don't like the first, you know, hour and 15, 20 minutes of this movie, it's a debatable part as far as like you have to be connected to the characters and buy into the story up to this point. And that's where I was saying is this isn't Ghostbusters 3 for a reason. Like the more I talk about it, it's like script is right. It's called Ghostbusters Afterlife because this is an epilogue to Egon's character, and whatever we get from here on out is going to be completely different, I think. And yes, we may see these characters come back to a point. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I don't know. So we'll see. But no, I like before, because I know Script's got to give his final thoughts on it. But my basic thing is just like I loved it. To me, I'm not kidding when I said I felt like I have not felt walking out of a movie since something like Spider-Man. Just that overjoy of seeing something that I have never seen in a long time or seen before or never thought I would finally get to see on screen. And sure, a lot of it is because this movie was a lot of what I said it had to be 2 years ago. And it went above those expectations. So that's a big plus for me. And the other side of it is that it's not, you know, bombarded with all this woke bullshit that we see out of everything. And that's not, you know, something to rate a film on, but I feel like it needs to be said because this treats most men outside of the one you're talking about, the father figure that we've never met before or know anything about. It treats the rest of the men with complete respect, especially
disagree. I
Especially
disagree.
Egon.
especially Egon. I told
yeah.
And to me, having the deadbeat dad is no big problem. To me, it would have been more cliche to have him die or something when you know, after Phoebe was born. It was just, to me, it makes more sense to have it this way. And I
well, let's give
don't
him
think it's
another
perfect,
option to bring him back in the second or third
that's what I mean.
one
We
and
don't
have us.
know. We don't know, right? There's a lot of story opportunity here, and Script is right. This is a story that is built around the characters. That's why it has a very simple plot. And that's what we need more so sometimes when it comes from these franchise films, because when we get to this point, that's what we care about is the characters. And that's what Star Wars forgot. That's what all these other franchises have forgotten. And this last 30 minutes, yes, is a beautiful film, but the rest of it to me was equally as beautiful because the whole entire thing was a love letter to the fans, a love letter to Harold Ramis. And I believe Jason Reitman approached this as a fan first and not as his father's son. But that was definitely played into it. I do feel
think
that.
so too.
But I felt
he
no
said that.
nepotism. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he said
Script
that,
doctor, please tell us what you thought, like your overall thoughts and everything, because we've kind of all been talking and I haven't heard much from you. So please.
Well, I've been
give us some
listening. You guys
comments.
have been making some awesome statements and points, and I would say this: like this is a pretty solid film for the Ghostbusters franchise. Definitely an obvious love letter, as you've all said. I think that this is the type of movie for Jason Reitman where he had way more to say than what he wanted to say in the time he had to do it. And I don't think he made all of the best decisions for what was put into the film. But at the same time, the stuff that he did get right, he really got right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, I think, really important here. I mean, this one, I don't usually do like numerical ratings because I don't understand the aggregate for that. But it's a film that I have no problem watching again. I don't think it'll be something I would reflexively want to watch right away, like as I would with compared to Ghostbusters 1 and 2. But it's one that's like where if I watch the first two and I there's probably a 50-50 chance I'd have no problem wanting to put on the third for like a binge watch or anything of that nature.
See, now me, I've been dying to see it again. Mine has just been logistics. I've been even trying to get my parents to go see it and stuff. Like I want to go see it again and again.
Aw, that's so sweet.
And I mean, as I look at it as like a storyteller and a screenwriter, I'm thinking there's a lot of missed opportunities, but there's also a lot of really clever things I wouldn't have thought of there. There's a lot of stuff that I had thought of before that I've used in because I've mentioned before, I pitched a Ghostbusters 3 to Sony years ago before Harold Ramis passed away, and that was a nightmare just trying to get it to like the next tier. But he came, Jason Reitman and his writing partner, they came at this franchise with the mindset of what people who love this franchise would have. And so the other part too that was kind of bittersweet is that I felt I was 10 minutes ahead of the most of the movie. Like I knew where it was going before anyone else in the audience did, but at the same time I didn't feel like it ruined my experience because you're kind of rewarded. Like, oh, I think this is going to happen, and then it does. You're like, oh, thank God it did happen. It didn't go south as other studio tentpole films would go, and you could definitely see it in that case. And I just like the fact that, yeah, we did get a parental figure. We got a mother who was not all together, and I thought that was very refreshing for just general audiences.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
like
didn't think that was that refreshing because they just keep wanting to give like this idea of the single family household, and that's what I'm talking about. A lot of it is like a very subliminal thing of like
but she's not the
family. It's a
workaholic
broken
mom.
family. Like they don't want to talk about nuclear families anymore. They want to have this broken family. It's always like
but it's a broken family that's being brought back together.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other part too here is that she's not a very responsible adult. Like she's doesn't have a job. She's been lying to her landlord about getting money. She's only interested in her father's estate for the money that they have, and then when she finds out she can't move anywhere, they have to stay there. And
yeah, I hated that mom
all she's doing is inventorying her dad's stuff, and she's not going out to look for a job and then trying to make time to inventory the dad's stuff, which is kind of more priority there. But at the same time, you also have like Paul Rudd. So yeah, he's slacking on his job, but the moment he sees potential in a kid, he takes interest in her, and he tries to nurture that, and he's actually really enamored by the fact that she's really, really smart. But it's got all these charming elements, and the one thing it does, which is very consistent, and this is consistent with regards to the first two Ghostbusters films, is that the plot is very simple, and it's the characters that are driving the story that allow us to take interest into what's going to happen. And it is set up and framed in a type of mystery way that the first movie is framed. Like, why are these ghosts here? We don't know why. As they keep on busting ghosts, as they're doing research into Dana's case, they find out, oh, there's this Evo Shandor guy who's used technology to summon magical spirits out to the Earth realm. In Ghostbusters 2, Dana Barrett is the catalyst again. Why was her baby in trouble? As they investigate and follow up on all this ghost research, they're like, oh, it's this magician from who's in a painting who's wanting to be reincarnated as Dana's kid. I mean, but it's all like very simple. I just explain those two movies.
No one talks about
90 seconds.
Yeah, nobody talks about Oscar's dad being a deadbeat dad either.
Wait, who's Oscar again?
Oscar's Dana's child who left for a job shortly after Oscar was born.
Oh.
And that's why Dana's single, and that's why Pete Venkman can walk in there. And yes, if you go into a lot of the Ghostbuster forums and Reddit things, a lot of people think that Peter Venkman's the biological father, that Dana left after Venkman, wasn't really committed to the seriousness of marriage, and then she married her old boyfriend composer, and then when he found out that Oscar wasn't his because the timing didn't line up, that's when he took off. And
that's headcanon, though.
That's total fanboy headcanon. That's
hilarious.
All over the place on hundreds of different. Forms.
And I totally get it, but my point was earlier is like that's where the mother comes into the play as far as like it's not the woke factor playing here because.
Right.
If it had been, she'd have been a perfect mom, struggling, doing everything just right, and all this kind of crap. No,
yeah, she would have been like a genius,
the most qualified like employee for any job that she could have.
And I think that you're not supposed to like her at first, Nina, and I think that's part of the point because she's.
But I never ended up liking her in the end. So
well,
I don't really
I did finally find her a little, like Paul Rudd brought out the good sides of her. I felt like that's where, but again, that's where.
But I didn't like Paul Rudd either, so I was like, I don't like Paul Rudd, and I don't like her, so I don't really understand what is happening.
I loved Paul Rudd in this movie. I felt like he did it again. Here's what we have is like
Paul Rudd was Paul Rudd to me.
Paul Rudd was Paul Rudd.
But I feel like he was channeling a little bit of. Here's what I love is you have three people in here who are channeling characters from the original films without doing imitations. You have Paul Rudd, who's a lot like Peter
Paul
Venkman,
Rudd
but
was
he's
like
not.
Ant-Man. I was like, you're
No,
literally
but
the same person.
but look at, like I said earlier, he does a lot of the same kind of shit that Peter Venkman would do, right?
Right.
Sure, he's not as much of a pervert as Peter Venkman, but he's still doing a lot of the shit that Peter Venkman would do. You have, Podcast, who we all know is clearly the Ray character,
The Ray
but he
character,
does it
yeah.
in a way that is not obnoxious and he's not completely mimicking Dan Aykroyd, right? Same thing I
Yeah.
feel like with Phoebe. And again, it's a totally fair assessment. If you don't like the character, I can accept that all day long. What I won't accept is the whole woke factor part. That to me,
Yeah,
just, I don't
again,
buy.
I don't get the
And
woke
again,
thing
like
either
she's,
too much.
kind of that prototype, typical kind of Egon character. So you have these three main characters there, and then you have in the Winston character, the everyman character in Trevor. So and to a point, Lucky point with an asterisk, right? So
I
you
thought
have
Podcast was also a little bit of the everyman character because he
Mm,
also
I got
does
more
so
Ray
much
vibes
stuff.
from
Like
him.
he just
Yeah.
doing so
he's
much
very
stuff.
much Ray. Like
that
the
childhood.
way his confidence is far more like Peter Venkman, but his subject matter and his interests are very Ray.
Right, yeah, because the subject matter. You're
Well,
my
and
only
Ray has a bit more
subscriber.
confidence to
I
himself,
love
but
that
that's the
part.
thing.
Well,
Is
it's
I
not
got
only
that,
subscribers, just you're my subscriber.
Oh
I
yeah,
got
yeah,
that wide-eyed wonder out of him, like Ray. Like,
Yes,
It was-
this is
absolutely.
it.
that's
This is
what was
definitely it. That whole, like, we got it. Like, that's podcast to me. Is that
Yeah.
that just hold that energy that Ray brings to the group. That's podcast to me.
I really like that. Was my favorite character. Marilyn's It. Thank you so much for the $2. Says my only issue is some of the editing. Love it though. I don't know
Yep.
what that. What
I
do you mean by the
agree, and
editing?
I understand. I feel like there's some pacing issues, and it's because I don't know if and this is very, very, very likely that Tom Rothman told that Jason that he could not have a movie that was much more than 2 hours long.
Is that why people are saying it's kind of boring? Because I felt like it was kind of boring at the beginning too. I was like,
again, that's just
the first act does have a stop and go pacing issue. It's like they really shouldn't have done. I mean, I know why they introduced the apartment in New York and when there's the scene there, but they really could have just started this movie with them on the road to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the son having an argument with the mom. It's like, why are we moving here? And I mean,
but
yeah,
they wanted to show that she's an electrician and everything.
Exactly. It's like, how do you do both, right? And it's like, well, the car could have broken down, and then the son could have said, "Oh, I need to do this," and the daughter could have been like, "Well, this is how this combustion engine works."
Or you could have it so that they like the car breaks down by the road and there's like maybe a diner or something, and she goes in the diner and the diner has power issues and she fixes it for them.
Something like that. To me, that would come off more Mary Sue than the way it does in the movie.
Like that would come off more Mary Sue.
Like, I love the whole rig she has in the movie because that is so Ghostbusters, really. Because that is gonna blow at any goddamn moment.
The rig that she has?
She has all those wires all fucking all over the place.
Oh yeah, like it's all over. Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Valiant Renegade, thank you so much for another $10. Says, great show and discussion. Wish I could have caught more and swung by. Finally got to listen for the last 45 minutes. Well, thank you so much, Valiant. I hope that you enjoyed the show, and it seems like you have. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show. It's definitely been a really interesting discussion. Now, speaking of movie lengths, before we wrap it up, I do want to bring up that amazing thread that Script Doctor kind of got sucked into. So give us a little bit of a background.
Last thing before you get into that real quick. Tim says,
of course,
they wreck the town and there's no stakes. No, actually they kind of imply like the mother's pissed because that means she's probably going to have to pay for a lot of that damage. Like we just didn't get to see far enough into the future, right? Like that's the thing with that one. So I wouldn't say there is no they were arrested and shit, for fuck's sake. There's gonna be court.
Yeah, there's gonna be a follow-up to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's a minor. I think they're both minors because they're 15, right?
Yeah, they're both
so
minors.
I don't think they're gonna.
The parents responsible for paying for the damages in some capacity. But the other part too is like that is an aspect in a speed bump or obstacle in the story, but it's not the focus of the story, so we don't get to see that played out at the end.
Yeah,
which is why like in Ghostbusters 2 they find out, oh yeah, even after they saved the town, they were sued by like the Tri-City area to the point where they're no longer in business.
Sorry, I just wanted to address that real quick. My bad.
No, that's fine. Do you guys have
back
any?
to the
like,
Twitter
do you guys want to
war.
say final thoughts for Ghostbusters? Did you have any? Stephanie, do you have any final thoughts?
No, not really. I think I said all I needed to say.
Okay. What about you, Script Doctor?
No, this has been an awesome discussion with all of you. So
It's been very fun. And how about you, Tom? Any final thoughts?
No,
with
I
regards
give
to-
all my thoughts. I just wanted to address that real quick in the chat because I thought I could answer it.
Perfect.
So that's all.
Okay, so then I'm going to go to Script Doctor's Twitter really quick because this actually has to do with a little bit of what we're talking about. Like we're talking about pacing issues, we're talking about editing and all this stuff. And this is what kind of Script. Do you have that tweet handy by any chance? The one that you
no, my alerts went crazy off that.
Oh
I
my
can't
God,
always
yeah,
find the
but-
source.
Okay, you know what? I found it.
Okay.
So the original one was a response that Script Doctor made to Chris Gore saying normalize movies that are just 2 hours long, please. So now the funny part is when I initially saw this, I saw this before Script Doctor
I don't know what
commented on it.
movie he saw, but Chris was at a screening right before he posted this, and it wasn't Ghostbusters. But it must have been.
I
must
wonder
have been
if it was the
something-
Batman.
I don't know, but it must have been something that was well over 2 hours, and he didn't like it. He
And
never
he
told
felt
me what
that
it
it was
was.
well over 2 hours.
Yeah, he didn't tell me what it was. He just told me he was at a screening. So that's all I know as far as context for this. That's the best I can give you.
What
Yes,
movies
yeah, I
are
was
coming
wondering.
out? So we have the Batman and
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
what is? But
Maybe
what
Batman's
year?
next year,
Spider-Man.
right? Early next year, the Batman.
Yeah, the Batman's next year. It could I don't know
Maybe
if he got
Spider-Man?
lucky enough to see Spider-Man yet. That's a little early for that. And I can't imagine Spider-Man being much more than 2 hours and a half. But
2 hours and some change. Yeah.
So that this is a mysterious tweet. Now, and I was like, I thought it was a throwaway tweet.
he
like
hated
just to kind
Eternals
of-
too, by the way. That's probably another reason
I
for it.
haven't even seen Eternals. I don't
I
give
haven't
a
either.
fuck.
Likewise.
I don't care about Marvel anymore.
I'm pretty much all done. I mean, I'll watch Hawkeye just so I can review it on this channel for the
For the
people who
kicks.
won't watch it. Yeah, for the kicks.
Like I really wanted to
Um,
watch Hawkeye just for Jeremy Renner because I love that man, but
Mhm. But now you're like,
Get outta
I
here.
wonder if it's Matrix.
get out of here.
Oh.
Matrix.
Maybe the Matrix because
Because I'm looking at
You
upcoming
mentioned
movies,
the
and
Ma-
that's the only one I could think of that would be
Oh,
that fucking
Matrix.
long, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe House of Gucci. That's another one. 'cause
Well, I've heard
that's-
good things about that
I've
one.
I've
heard really
heard
good things
really
about
good
that.
things about House of Gucci.
See,
So
that's
I
the
don't
kind of
know.
movie that he would gravitate towards. So I'm curious if
Mhm.
maybe I should ask him. He might tell me, but he might
Yeah.
not be
I
able
bet it
to.
That would be. I bet it was the Matrix
I'm
because
I'm
I
starting to
read
think
all
it was
those
the
like
Matrix.
the.
Because isn't
whatever
that coming out in like
posts.
a week or two?
Yeah.
I think so.
coming
I
out really
read that
soon,
it's
I don't
not
know.
very good. Like the leaks and stuff didn't sound very good. I wonder if it's the Matrix.
Mm.
Do
'Cause
we have a running
I
time
love
for
the
the
Matrix
Matrix?
movies.
Do
Let's
we have
see.
a running time yet? Let's see.
What is it
Tom
called?
looks into that. Matrix.
I don't know. what
Is
it's
it
called.
It's
Revolution?
Matrix Erections or something. I don't know.
Oh
Fucking-
God, it's not called
Matrix
Erections.
Resurrection.
Jesus
Matrix
Christ.
Resurrection? Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
reloaded.
2
in
hours and
Revolution.
28 minutes, maybe.
Oh,
Oh
Maybe.
my God! I thought
It's
somebody was gonna
Matrix.
say Matrix Transition for a second, and then I mean it shouldn't have been called that.
Because
But
I know he loved Ghostbusters. So
there it is, Matrix.
yeah,
this
2
thing
hours and
saying-
28 minutes.
Resurrection.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, well,
Okay.
maybe,
Well, it
maybe.
sounds like
I'm
it.
just positing here. I'm just positing.
I bet it's
All right.
Matrix.
Well, that's what he said. Normalize movies that are just 2 hours long, please. And Script Doctor came back with action, thrillers, sci-fi, 1 hour 45, drama, fantasy, 2 hours, comedy and horror 90. Which is that's interesting to me. I didn't know
Well, this
that
is kind of an industry
comedy
standard that was kind of like
would
an
be 90.
It's kind of like
comedy. Mm-hmm.
It's an unspecified kind
Judd
of like,
Apatow is the culprit for doing 2-hour comedies, and I don't even call those comedies. Those are dramas with comedic.
you forgot
actors.
family movies too that are hour and 15 minutes there. Script Doctor.
I ran out of characters.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, this is where my gripe with this started because I took my kid at the time. He would have been 5, and my nephew was 3.5, maybe 4. Hour into the movie, they were getting restless. It's like this movie's 2 hours long for no good fucking reason. What happened to kids' movies that were an hour and 15 minutes? Like
75-minute marker, yeah.
Yeah, like it was Pixar that ruined that with Toy Story.
Yeah.
Look at all those quote tweets. What happened?
So this is what happened. This is the story. This is the story. He goes,
got
that is
ratioed,
the
I guess.
goal. If you
Well, not really.
can't
The likes
tell a
outweigh the quote
story
tweets.
I know.
within those time frames, you're not going to you're not doing it right. Becoming an expert at that buys you minutes, so you go over your passion project, learn it, live it, love it. So essentially all Script Doctor was saying was that if you have to be an experienced filmmaker in order to make longer movies and be successful at it, because if you have your first project you're doing and you make it a really long movie, you're probably not going to be successful. It's gonna suck. It's gonna
Can I
drag.
take a quick
Nobody's gonna
stab?
like it.
Because I haven't had a chance to really speak to Script's whole drama in this. I think I dropped like one or two things in there. But no, like one thing that a lot of people don't realize, especially like younger filmmakers and up and coming ones, they think they're just being all avant-garde by making a movie 3 hours long. Every filmmaker needs to understand that every second, every minute, every moment, every scene is like real estate, and you don't have a lot to work with. You need to make sure that entire puzzle kind of works within that framework. And that's why we love to bring up Back to the Future is like the perfect it runs under 2 hours long. Everything's paid off in it. Everything is set up perfectly. None of it is fat. But yet you got a lot of these movies nowadays where there's just so much junk and ancillary bullshit in them for no good reason. But if you're somebody who knows how to use that real estate, you can take 3 hours and do a lot with that. Right? But you got to know how to do it. And that's what Script is getting to, is it takes experience. It takes knowledge. It takes all these
practice.
Exactly,
practice. Exactly. And you get a lot of these quote tweets coming up with Peter Jackson did it for Lord of the Rings for 4 hours. And basically what Script Doctor's been saying over and over is that, that wasn't Peter Jackson's first movie. He did other ones before.
Far from it.
Yes, exactly. He did.
I didn't know
other
this
ones.
one. JK.
Yeah, you call yourself a Script Doctor, but I think what you need is a real doctor. Damn.
I don't even understand what how you come to that prognosis.
What happened?
You a sicko.
What happened? Who did that to you?
He's saying you're
some
a
guy
sick
named Jay.
bastard.
Well, here's the thing.
I mean, who ratioed you?
Well, I don't know, but here's the thing: is
Everyone.
Peter Jackson did great with the Lord of the Rings, but there's some people who will argue that not only was King Kong too long, look at what he did with the fucking Hobbit.
Yeah, that one. That was a bad.
Somebody should have said, "No, motherfucker, you got 1 3-hour movie to tell this story. That's it." But of course, that's not in the studio's best interest, right?
Not always, yeah.
No, running time doesn't matter as long as what is happening is good. I'd rather take a long movie that feels like a breeze over a shorter movie that feels like an eternity. That's not what
Script is saying here, and that's what I think people are misunderstanding.
Yeah, people are misunderstanding what you said.
That statement reverses my point.
There's always exceptions to the rules. They're not, these things are in place for a reason. I mean, it's not so much even just like, oh, we got to get these many show times in. It's got to get this done. No, people's attentions only last so long, right? There's a reason
a lot
why
of these people blocked me after they retweeted it because I
probably.
Dude, this is so crazy because the reactions that you got, like people legit got big mad. Like I was like I
think Andre should almost do a video on this, or somebody should. Jesus Christ, because
this is insane. Like
they're not understanding
doesn't seem
what you're
like
saying.
that you would even get this kind of reaction to saying something like that. It just, to me, is like I just feel like the reaction in itself is so
Hey, I retweeted a lot of them that retweeted me. I retweeted back with like my justification, and I got way more likes on my retweets than they did on theirs. So
I'll go tell Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, and Ridley Scott that they'll never.
Well, Ridley Scott needs that rule. Motherfucker needs that rule.
Click on that tweet. Click on that tweet, and then click on my quote tweet that I did of that.
This one.
And then scroll down to the quote tweet, which is mine.
And they'll all laugh at you because they'll all start making they all started making movies, TV episodes, and
that
TV
was the point I was going to get to. There's a reason why sitcoms are only usually a half hour. There's a reason why dramas are an hour. People's interests and you gotta get people in and out in certain times. Like certain people are not going to put up with certain things for so long. The average public's attention only lasts so long. Most people don't want to go sit through a 3-hour fucking movie unless it's worth it. right? Like that's why these kind of industry standards have always been the unsaid rule that Script Doctor has for the running times here. And it's not like they're ever generally been like this, oh, you got to have it rigidly 90 minutes. No, but it's good to keep in mind that you want to get your audience invested within the first 15 minutes. You want to give them something to hang on in the middle, and you want to give them a big bang within the third act. And sometimes all you need is 90 minutes to do that. And you don't necessarily need 2 hours, right? Like some of my favorite films are well under 2 hours long.
What the hell, man?
You have 0 hoes.
Oh my god.
What?
I have a girlfriend and she was not a hoe.
Wow. Like
The butt hurt on some of these people over
yeah, I
this,
mean,
though.
they're going
That's
after
what I'm
not.
saying.
Here's the
Like,
thing: they're
they're
not really
so
going after
bad.
the argument. And the other part too, was a lot of people who apparently are citing Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson pitched Lord of the Rings as 2 films.
Well,
Bob
there's
Shea
the
told him
whole-
to do it
yeah.
3.
Yeah.
So
And then-
imagine that. And then on top of that, even the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as amazing as it is, Peter Jackson had to cut a lot out to achieve that extended cut and that even the more extended runtime that he's going to be releasing later. And one of the biggest parts that he had to cut was Tom Bombadil.
Right. I mean, people forget that the theatrical cuts didn't run nearly as long as the versions we're kind of used to seeing now.
I think that stuff like this is really funny because everyone was like, how many movies given below have you directed or written? And you're like,
And a
lot.
50 feature films and TV pilots.
like,
And
I
again,
just, like-
nobody's saying this has to be something rigid. It's not like
No,
like
that's what the
Dr.
words.
saying-
That is the goal. I mean, it's-
dumbass. You're such a dumbass.
Oh,
Just
geez.
Oh,
stop
no.
it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. Pony
God.
Rusher. That sounds perverse.
Look at this guy and his
Well, and
mask.
again, a perfect counter to the whole Lord of the Rings thing is The Hobbit. It's pretty
Yeah.
simple. Like this is the exact reason why sometimes you're overindulging your directors by giving them too much leeway.
This guy says film and me being a douchebag. That's his profile.
Well, he's
photo.
honest.
And he's got 666
666
followers. That's really funny. Okay, this person's what is this? Black lightning? I don't understand this.
I don't know what that gift signifies.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all. Okay. Dude, it's your problem that you can't sit on your ass for more than 2 hours.
That's not even. I mean, that kind of goes
Not
back
even
to
what
I
I'm
was saying.
arguing.
But again, who wants to see some meandering shit story? That's why I keep going back to The Hobbit. Like that's its problem. Is you
Yeah.
take a very condensed story and you're cranking it out, and then like
Unnecessarily expanding it. Yeah.
unnecessarily, yes, exactly, and there's no reason for it, and that's a prime example of why you don't give some directors. And Ridley Scott's another example. Or the son of a bitch wouldn't need 20 goddamn director's cuts for every movie he makes.
Oh my god. Anyways, these were like just I just thought this freak.
What is that?
What
I
the
like
hell?
it, but I don't know what it is.
That's an awesome gift.
I want this gift.
I'm not
Like,
sure
how
if
do I
he's with
save
you
this?
or against you now.
Yeah, that's ambiguous.
This is very ambiguous. Let's see this person's from James Cameron. Wow.
But
this
here's
guy
there's
really
an
loves
example
James
of a
Cameron.
director who knows how to use real estate, usually.
What the hell is this?
Well, before Titanic.
Exactly. That's why I say usually.
What is this? I'm so
don't know what that is.
confused. What is
That's
happening?
Christian Bale.
That's
I
Christian
know,
Bale
but why does
widened.
he look like Hulk? What the fuck?
That's creepy. Look at his face.
Okay. Yeah, so this guy's
The
a
chemical engineering
student.
He's a
He,
he,
him.
him.
Okay. That's
Mm.
nice.
Man, when he gets further into chemistry, he's going to really regret those pronouns in the pile.
Runtime equals the amount of time needed to tell a story in the best way. It changes per movie. Stop this runtime rules crap. He didn't make them up. What the hell, man?
I know, but I appreciate being bestowed that authority. That's
Right?
nice.
Like no, but script is 110% right. Like go back and look at the standard for films outside of your rare exceptions.
Mhm.
What he has listed here, minus the family runtime, like I pointed out, is 75 minutes. All that's pretty damn accurate. Like you're hard pressed to find a horror film over 90 minutes or a comedy over 90 minutes that was made before like what 2000, 2010, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
before the turn of
Same
this
thing with the
century,
rest
yeah.
of these, yeah. Outside of a few rare exceptions.
What the fuck? This person's like, don't care. Check this out.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I should retweet that. Thank you.
Look what I
like,
can do.
That's entertaining.
That is entertaining, and it's short too. It doesn't need 4 hours to explain.
Yeah, you don't.
There you
did
go.
it in
Your
the
response should be,
allotted
look at all
time.
that storytelling in just 15 seconds.
Less than that, yeah.
You did it in the allotted time. Oh my god! What? This person wants to slap you. This should be reported to Twitter for violent.
Sometimes people just love to like
violent
wear
abuse.
their stupid on their shirts. I swear to God.
No, it's fine. I gained a bunch of followers from this thread, and some of them are like actors and directors that I kind of know through other people. So it's kind of funny.
PhD in being wrong.
My PhD is not for psychology. It's actually an initialism for pretty huge. No, I won't finish the.
Oh, whoa, hey-oh, hey-oh.
I think they're more
whoa.
interested in my epididymis.
That's for my skin, but yeah.
Oh my god. What the hell?
I don't even know what that
This
means.
is now getting real disturbing real fast.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, shouldn't that woman be filming this on her telephone?
Right?
I feel this is weird. Okay, let's check out this person's profile. A dumbass by Birds of Prey fan. Any pronouns.
Birds of Prey fan.
So you can.
You lost me a Birds of Prey fan.
Yeah.
Fuck that movie.
And not the comic, I'm guessing.
The movie's terrible.
Yikes.
Oh boy,
this
is it
person's
ever.
clearly deeply disturbed. I don't know what this is about, but
Like Jennifer says, I'm scared.
I'm scared.
I love how most people's responses are just like, "Oh, shut the fuck up! You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah,
Peter
hey,
Jackson.
shut the fuck up, 100%.
100%.
And how many movies has Peter Jackson made since The Hobbit, mind you?
This guy just told you to shut the fuck up, 100%. Script doctor.
Look at that hair.
Take that.
You kidding? But based on what he likes, I'm going to take that as a compliment.
That was a
Nina distraught.
She accidentally yeeted herself.
Hello, everybody.
We're running the show now. Everybody,
my nerdy home show.
Unfortunately, Nina yeeted herself. So
we were trying to say all the gamer words.
Oh my god! I boomered
I'm not sure if that once was a man and is trying to be a woman, or once was a woman.
This is where it ends and then begins again.
And it's a Snyderverse nut on top of it. Oh, of course, yeah. Because what's the first thing I said after seeing the Justice League Snyder cut?
I'm not affiliated with that person.
No, I actually enjoyed the Justice League movie, but I said I wish that Snyder would have also done a theatrical cut, because I really could have done without about 3 hours of this fucking movie.
I know, right? Like, take out some of that slow-mo, man.
I'm a little conflicted. Like, a lot of the people that retweeted me upset were really in support of releasing the Ayer cut, and I don't think any of them realized I worked on that movie.
I bring that up whenever I can. Yes, he did.
I worked on David Ayer's Suicide Squad in the props department.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just a job between assignments, and I gotta. Yeah,
he's confirmed basically that there was packages.
Yes, there were some packages by Jared Leto.
Some very nasty ones.
Wait, what is this? Metal Runner says script doctors -1, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers -0. What is that?
Is it -1 or -1-0?
Yeah, it's a dash.
Okay, dash.
Wait, I'm not going up against Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers. Why am I going up against
Jeremy? Maybe it's just like baseness. I don't know what he's getting at here. You're gonna have to give
I think Jeremy's pretty based. He's good.
I don't know what he's getting at here by this one.
Yeah, we need context, Runner. What are you talking about? Did Jeremy say something about this? I need to know.
I don't think so.
Not y'all gatekeeping run. Now that one guy was like gatekeeping run times for film. Like now the studios haven't done that for the last 30 years. Like school this sucker on that shit. Like, do you realize that like the studios have been mandating that just about every single fucking film be 90 minutes for the last 30 years so they can get more showings in every Cineplex? Like if it was they had their way, every movie be under 90 minutes.
Pretty much. Because you get more showings.
Script doctor beat Jeremy. Yeah, but at what? What did Jeremy say?
I didn't even know I was competing against him at any.
Yeah, I didn't know Jeremy retweeted it. Yeah.
Did he?
I don't know if he did or not. I didn't see if he did. Maybe.
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
I
But
wasn't paying that much attention, but I know, Steph's got to leave us. Sorry.
yeah, Steph has got to head out. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Stephanie. It was really fun to hang out with you and talk movies.
Yeah. I
It
had a lot
was-
of fun.
Yeah, this was
We
really
must
cool.
all hook up again for Spider-Man Homecoming or No Way
We
Home.
should.
No Way Home,
Whichever
right.
the newest one. No, for the Matrix. We all must hook up together for the Matrix.
Plug into the
Yes.
Matrix, right?
Yes, plug it in.
The
Ooh.
Matrix. Yeah, let's do it again for the Matrix. But also, Stephanie, we do this kind of stuff all the time on Sundays on this channel. So if you ever wanted to like stop by for Sunday shows, definitely let me know. And you're always
yeah.
welcome. You are welcome here on this channel endlessly, forever, infinite invite. Infinite.
Yay. Yeah.
So thank
I'm
you.
glad
And
I'm
please
glad
tell
I could come. I was worried about it being in the morning because I was going to an anime convention in the morning and I was just kind of like, uh-oh.
How was that? Did you have fun?
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was in Round Rock. So I'm in Texas, so it was in Round Rock, up by Austin. I don't really like going to Austin because it's
I hear you.
it's the California of Texas, so I don't really like going to Austin. But it was really fun. I liked it.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm really glad that you came. And Stephanie's links are in the description. But please tell everybody on your way out where they can find you and everything like that.
Oh yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, all at the same name, My Nerdy Home, no spaces.
There you go. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And Stephanie,
welcome.
make sure you get back to me about that other thing I messaged you about.
Oh yeah, I will.
Thanks.
I will. Ooh,
Okay.
and watch this new season 1 on Netflix of Hellbound. It's so good. I binged
Hellbound?
it. It's called Hellbound. It's so good. I binged it. That's fantastic. It's a fantastic show. I love it.
Good to know. Have you guys heard about that?
I've heard some rumblings around that it's a pretty good show, so I'm gotta allot some time to check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
All
show
right,
was
well,
that
I have
again?
Hellbound.
Hellbound?
Really
Yeah.
good.
I haven't even heard about it. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So
It's on Netflix, you said?
on Netflix. Check it out. I loved
Okay.
it.
Yeah, Netflix
Cool.
doesn't do a very good job of advertising its shows outside of Netflix. I've noticed.
It seems like it's like a Korean show or something.
It's a Korean,
right?
yeah, it's a Korean show, but like you
Because
watch
like
it and
the
you,
Squid Games.
Yeah, like Squid
snuck
Games,
up on
yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
but this
Cool.
one's
Sorry.
it's so good. It's so
I'm
good.
definitely gonna have to check that out. Thanks, Steph.
You're welcome.
Have
You're
a good
welcome.
one.
You'll love it. Bye, everybody.
I'm hanging with you.
Bye. Good
Take
night.
care.
We're gonna finish up pretty soon here too. I just wanted to go over some more of these responses before we call it a night. Because I thought I was so entertained. I was like, this is so stupid. Why is this happening to Script Doctor? Because this, like, I felt like this was such a throwaway tweet, and then everyone was like, just I don't know.
What's funny is that a lot of them don't follow me or Chris Gore.
Yeah,
they don't
that's what, like,
understand.
they're
I'm
all
sure, like,
SJWs.
just the basics of like 3-act structures and certain things like that. And it just, I mean, again, like I said, pacing is very important. Again, all you had to do was just throw down the mic and just start posting pictures of the Hobbit script. That's all you should have done.
It's true. It's true. Placing limitations on art is how we get boring cookie cutter products.
It's also how we get fucking other
Actually,
shit
the
too.
exact opposite is true.
No, as I point out all the time, like, you know, you're more inventive when you have certain limitations. Jaws
You
is
have
my
to be.
go-to example all the time. To me, Jaws would have been just some, you know, schlocky B movie had that fucking shark worked. But since that shark didn't work, Steven had to figure out how to make the rest of the movie work. And through that, he created one of the greatest films, in my opinion, greatest films of all time, through the characters and just the setting up of the tension and, you know, using the fact that we couldn't see the shark, you know, and there you go. And if that movie would have been more than 2 hours, would it have made it better? No. It's perfect where it's at.
I just like how everyone thinks that you made up these rules.
And I have
I'm
the
like,
power to control the whole film industry.
why are you trying to limit how long movies should be? It's not up to you. It's not up to you.
I love how SJW some of these folks kind of went. I mean,
I
a
know,
lot of them just came out of the woodwork, but like those who are kind of semi in our sphere or whatever is kind of funny.
This person's like, it's not up to you.
God, to catch them. Think of the children. Won't somebody please think of the children?
I didn't know they did a follow-up joke to that one. What season was that? That's been a while since I've seen that one.
I think this was like season 9 or 10.
Oh, well, okay.
I don't remember.
That's been a while because I remember the original joke was in an earlier one. She said it originally.
Yeah, she said this one.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Exactly. Yes, I love that. Back when the
Aw.
Simpsons were funny.
Yeah, back in the original days. But yeah, so Script Doctor has been just going at it with these weirdos. And it's been really funny because if you
Well, there's another
Yeah.
great example.
Oh, here it is.
A lot of critics and audiences don't like when, you know, they change a TV show into a movie. It just never seems to work with the pacing, right? Like they're always like, oh, it's just an elongated episode and it felt boring, right? So right there's another good example of a good argument for Script's point.
Yep.
And then you've been knocking it out of the park with these guys anyways. Return of the King should have could
Never be
never
told in
be
2
told in
hours.
2 hours. I love Return of the King, but having read the books, one would know that the current extended edition is still missing a lot, and it is. I have read the books and I agree. But we adore what we got because Jackson knew how to utilize time with that story, keeping what is needed and painfully cutting the rest. Example, Tom Bombadil. Yeah, exactly.
And here's an exception to the rules, but at the same time, that's the point Script is making is if Jackson was able to do the book scene for scene, word for word, whatever, the fucker would have been like a 12-hour fucking set of movies or longer than that, probably more like 24 hours.
I mean, it would have been argued that maybe we should do this as a TV series special, big budget TV series special, or in today's climate, like a streaming series of Lord of the Rings to really explore all the details and pacing and whatnot. And you know, you never know. In 20 years, we might actually get that. We might get a responsible studio that wants to retell Lord of the Rings like page for page.
Oatmeal, I don't know if you mean by about like movies in terms of that because Cobra Kai is a series, so I don't know if that's
and
what
it's
you mean.
approached way differently than a movie.
Yeah,
it's similar but different. Like a lot of these I've noticed with a lot of these. I don't know if Script will agree with this or disagree, but I noticed a lot of these, especially short run streaming series where they're usually like 5 or 10 episodes, they basically do feel like a big 3-act movie cut up into little sections.
Yes, they do.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the interesting benefits that has occurred with streaming is that you get something that feels like a mini series that essentially feels like a 5-hour movie, but it's broken up so appropriately that you don't really put it together right away.
Yeah, it's not like Script is saying every action movie has to be 1 hour and 45 minutes. Every comedy has to be 90 minutes. No, it's obviously the story necessitating that. But when it comes to going to movie theaters, we kind of have an expectation that we're not going to be sitting there for 5 hours unless we're seeing Gone with the Wind, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, like most recently, I think it was that, like The Irishman. I think it was like a 4-hour movie or something like that, and that one, they put it on streaming, and he was like, "Well, like it took 4 hours to tell the movie, so I'm going to take 4 hours to tell the movie." So it's on streaming, so like what does it matter to you? Because you can just pause it and go to the bathroom, kind of thing. But like
theater,
I mean, that's why.
Yeah,
but that's Scorsese. This is like how many movies does he have? Like I think
Scorsese been working for almost 50 years.
Yeah, I think he's allowed like that length.
Well, he knows how to. Yeah, he knows how to balance this because this is what I usually tell other I meet a lot of up and coming directors and directors and writers. They say, "Oh, I got this epic. It's like 240 pages," and I said, "Okay, you're never gonna make it now." And they're like, "No, it's got to be my first thing." It's like, "No, you're number one. You're never gonna make it now. Number two, if it is your first thing and it is great, you'll never live up to it with your follow-ups. Learn."
Citizen
Write
Kane.
some shorter story. Yeah, right. Exactly. Citizen Kane is an excellent example. Write a shorter story, like write a pilot, write an hour long, write a 90-minute feature or a 2-hour feature. Get those first because what you're going to learn from those experiences will make that epic better. And the last thing you want to do is have a no-name writer, no-name director release a massively long film and expect it to be a hit when everybody's going to look at the runtime and be like, "I've never heard of this movie. I don't know who these people are. The trailer's probably not going to be marketed too well. Why would I want to waste that many hours on something I have zero reason to be confident in. You got to build up that permission. It's just like with stand-up comedy as well. Like you there's a reason that stand-up comics start doing 2 and 3 minute sets. You have to hit as many jokes as they can in that time frame so that they can earn the 2-hour specials like Chappelle and George Carlin and so forth.
Well, let's also go to the quintessential, like, primordial ooze of us, right? Like, there's a reason why when Sesame Street started, Jim Henson and the crew, like, I've heard Jim Henson talk about this, like, they kind of knew that kids' attention spans only last so long. That's why everything is in, like, little increments, right? And as you get older, you're able to expand your attention. And that's kind of the way we work as human beings. So granted, script's not saying you can't handle a movie longer than that, or movies shouldn't be that way. But it still does go to show, like, most people, like, I'm one of those people, like, if you're going to, you got to give me a good goddamn reason why this movie's more than 90 minutes to 2 hours, right? Like, I start checking the clock, and that's not good.
And think about movie making as like a job heist. The more you know about the law and bank heist, the more you know about the law and the more about how the bank operates, the more likely you could probably get away with stealing the money and not get caught. And that takes preparation and planning. Now, I'm not encouraging people to, rob banks and whatnot. But
we don't encourage that on this YouTube
but
channel.
The fact of the matter is, the more you know about the subject and how it works and how it functions, the more you understand the value of, like, okay, I have to break this rule in order to tell the story this way. So I know I'm going to break that rule. Luckily, I know everything about that rule, that I know why I'm breaking it. And now, because I have broken that rule, I'm going to do everything I can to hide the fact that I broke that rule. So you will never know that I broke that rule until long after the movie's over.
Yeah.
And Zine Hu, yes, if you really know what you're doing, you can break the rules and still make it good. But you have to know the rules first. And that does not come from just basically saying, oh, I've watched movies, I know how they function. It's like, no.
Prime example of that is a story I've heard from multiple directors now, is they will say, it was sad and I damn near cried, or some have actually cried, when they've had to cut the scene that got them interested in the picture in the first place.
Yeah, I've heard of that too.
But they know that for the betterment of the film, it doesn't belong there, and it has to come out.
Yeah.
And if you're not that kind of director, if you're too invested in your shit to not be able to get rid of your favorite scene, even if it's so, frivolous to the plot, then you're not in the right place. And that's where I think script's coming from. I don't want to speak for you, script, but is that kind of what you're getting to? Is that kind of a thing?
That's factors into it. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Again, like, these runtimes are a byproduct of years of experience in other filmmakers saying, you know what, this is the sweet spot. Like, we've just figured it out. This is it. Out of all the failures and successes, this is the sweet spot for these types of genres and films.
Adega says, I hate to say it, but many of those responders to script doctors' tweets had a low ability to comprehend the argument.
Well, most of them don't even know who him or Chris are. That's what I think.
That's
that
the
makes
thing.
it also more entertaining.
They didn't know who they were. They literally had, like, zero comprehension skills. Like, even like, I understood what you meant even when I read the original tweet, that, like, it's not that you're setting the standard, like, that's the industry standard and it's been, like, followed.
And it's the goal too. Like, if you come up with a comedy, you're like, it's only going to be 80 minutes. It's like, they're fine with that. If you come up with a comedy, it's like, it's 100 minutes. They're fine with that. If you come up with an action, like, thriller that's like, 150 an hour 50 minutes, or just over 2 hours by a minute or two, they're fine with that. But if you come up with, like, an action thriller and it's 2 hours and 55 minutes, and I mean, that's where you realize, like, oh man, I'm losing 2 showings like within a block to show that. And all at the same time, does it really need to be pushing 3 hours?
Well,
that's the question. Like, and that's the question. If it does, and most stories, sadly, do not need to be pushing 3 hours.
And I love that you brought up Judd Apatow, because he's a prime example of somebody who just is overindulgent with his shit, right? Because I will argue that Funny People is half a good movie and half a horrible movie. But there's more than enough stuff there that he could have cut off all that last half, and he would have had a decent, just under 90-minute, little sweet kind of comedy about a guy who thought he was going to die and then realized he wasn't, but he met his best friend in the process. Right? That would have been a sweet, quick little movie. It would have been a nice little, like, movie, but no. You have to add this whole entire subplot to the whole thing that stretches the movie out. I shit you not. What is it, like 2.5 hours script?
2 and a quarter, I think. Yeah.
And then with the extended cut, it's even longer than that.
Same with, like, Knocked Up, 4-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh God, I hated that movie.
And that's what we're talking about here, is you have overindulgence, right? Like, that's what you need to get away from. You can cut a good 90-minute movie out of Funny People. I could go do it, It'd take me a couple days, but I could do it. I bet you.
I
And if
never
you,
saw Funny People because
you know what, I probably
I didn't
should
like
do that just
Knocked
to
Up
test it.
so much that I didn't watch Funny People. But
You know
yeah,
what,
you
Nina?
should do that. You
Just
should
to test it, I'll cut off all the crap that's garbage and just give you the bit that actually matters. And I bet you'll be like, even if you don't like Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen, you'll still be like, yeah, I see what they're doing there. And that was kind of a sweet little story kind of thing. Because that last portion of the movie destroys everything that went before it. Like, because it goes into this whole other fucking subplot that has nothing to do with anything that kind of went before it. And it lasts for, what, an hour long? Like, with the stuff.
Like, there's a whole Yo Teach subplot. And
yeah.
We're talking about Funny People, just so you know.
Sorry, Funny People is what it's called. Most people haven't seen this movie because it was one of the few movies that Apatow did that flopped.
Because that was the one that it was about the cancer patient, right?
Yeah.
That's why I didn't watch it, because I was like, I don't want to see a movie about cancer patient. Like,
well, the thing is the way the movie's set up is that first half of the film is brilliant. Like, if you look at it from a perspective of this is a comedian who knows he's dying, and he wants to kind of pass on what he knows to another generation of comedians, and he kind of hires this guy as his
joke writer.
As his joke writer kind of thing, but yet you have from the other perspective, it's like you never want to meet your heroes kind of thing. But at the same time, they kind of become great friends. Well, that entire plot is then shat upon once, not to spoil it, but Adam Sandler finds out, oh, by the way, it was a misdiagnosis. So then he goes on this complete fucking self-gratifying adventure for the next hour of the movie, trying to get with his high school girlfriend who's married to Eric Bana.
Damn, I did not know this because I'd never watched
so
the
if you
movie.
just cut it
but
off,
I did, you know what's funny is I probably would have watched it if I found out it was a misdiagnosis. I just didn't want to watch like a sad comedy movie.
No, and that's
the
thing is if you would have like ended the movie on that sweet note, like, okay, it's a misdiagnosis, I'm still gonna live, but we're good friends now. Like, I made a new friend,
right?
Because Adam Sandler's character is kind of a dick. Like, that's kind of the whole point is he's an amped up version of himself. And that shit's kind of hilarious because they do like these fake trailers and shit that are fucking priceless. Like, it's Adam Sandler clearly knowing what he's become, right? He's self-referentiating himself to a fucking T, to the point where when I saw the trailer for, what's the one where he plays his twin sister and himself?
Oh, Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill. When I saw the trailer for Jack and Jill, I had to take a double take. I thought that was an outtake from Funny People.
Oh,
like, because they have a bunch of these fake trailers in there that they're so ridiculous. Like, that's how ridiculous their movies are in that movie. I'm like, this looks like an outtake from Funny People. Like, that's the way it is. Like, because Adam Sandler just basically plays this amped up version of himself.
Yeah,
right?
But that's Adam Sandler.
Exactly. But it works for the movie.
And
up until that last fucking half, which goes in this complete other direction. And that's where it goes back to Scripps' complete argument here is somebody, if they would have had more power than Apatow, would have been like, look, you got a good movie here, but this whole last half is here because you just don't know how to
go.
Exactly. You don't know how to end your story. You end your story right here. That's it. That's the end of your story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I understand that. Well, thank you guys
Long,
so much for tonight. But I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was really funny and it's still going on. I mean, you guys, if you're on Twitter, follow Script Doctor. His link is in the description and follow this thread because it's hilarious. Like, people just like completely, it's the most bizarre thing that people completely lost their minds over, like the length of movies and how they're thinking like you're policing it or something. And it's like, it's just
weird.
Industry standards that he's just stated, like has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, go to my Twitter page. I guess look at the retweet stuff because then you'll see all my responses to the ones that I guess haven't blocked me.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and then just like click on the quote tweets, and then you can go to the original tweet.
Yeah, my only final point I have is this: I think maybe you could have brought up other things. Like, people don't realize that there's standards for comic books. There's standards for novels. Yes. There's standards for all these other
word
things.
count. You have to have a minimum word count to have a novel.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. You have to have a lot. Like, same thing with what you were saying. Music.
That's what I love to get into because, like, how many times have you heard the classic story is they're not going to put that on the radio because it's too long, so they have to do the famous old radio cut. That's.
Keely Chow says, I'm going to say something controversial. I like Hubie Halloween. So did I.
I've heard people like that movie. I like that movie.
I thought it was great. I thought it was really fun.
Well, here's the other part. One person said, did a concert comparison. I'm like, you do realize that artists make their songs between 2 and 4 minutes, and it's multiple different ones, and except for like Tubular Bells, that goes on forever. But
or you have multiple cuts. Exactly, Script. That's my point. Yeah.
For if
it's-
you're a queen and you put out like a 7-minute
That's
long
the
song,
exception
and
to the
that was
fucking
the
that's the
rule.
exception to the
That's
rule. Yeah,
that's your swan song on your album, right? So like you
that
That's
was
the
the swan
point.
song.
See, not every movie is a Bohemian Rhapsody.
Exactly.
Some
Exactly.
movies are, you know, Inagata Davida. They don't need to be 45 goddamn minutes long.
Oh, I love these kind of discussions.
You
This
get
has
the
been
same
really
impact
fun.
of Inagata Davida in the 3-minute cut as you do in that 45-minute cut. I guarantee you, because all the best
Absolutely,
bits
yes.
are in that cut.
Oh my goodness. Well, everybody, it's been really fun. I'm getting real tired, so I'm gonna
No
call it.
problem.
Tom, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me wandering around on YouTube at some point. I probably look like the homeless guy who doesn't know where he's at because he's all disheveled and hasn't had enough sleep. No, of course you can find me on
Homeless
Midnight's
guys were
Edge.
cut from the first Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah, yes, they were. And I think there's a good reason for that. There you go. See,
Yeah.
it didn't fit into the style of comedy. Anyhow, yeah, you can find me on Midnight's Edge After Dark, Midnight's Edge Radio, all that good stuff. So
All of his links are in the description. And also, Tom and I will be hanging out tomorrow night on Midnight's Edge for Toxic Femininity. That's right. I think that's at 7.
you get to fight the other
That was
chicks
it.
about this one because I ain't gonna be in that too much.
Oh my god. Yeah, because they loved. I know Lorena loved it. 8. I don't know if Mandy
7
saw it.
p.m. Central, 8 Eastern.
E.
Yeah.
Clay,
Yeah,
once in a
Eastern.
while, if you're good and stoned, yes, the 17-minute version is cool, but like you still get the best of it in the 3-minute cut.
And then Script Doctor, tell everyone where they can find you. And I'm gonna blow up your screen here because you're just so darn cute in your little Ghostbusters
I love his
outfit.
Ghostbusters outfit.
It's really
Yeah,
cute.
it says Script Doctor right there. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ScriptDoctorPhD, and I do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/ScriptDoctor, where I do analyses and reviews of film and television shows out there. Currently on hiatus until the holidays because I've got a bunch of assignment work that I'm wrapping up. But right after the holidays, I'll be back making some YouTube content for everyone to enjoy. Hopefully they enjoy it.
Excellent. And I think we will be back next week with Hawkeye. I know that's gonna be fun.
I'd be really happy if it's good. I'd be very happy.
I mean, I will be really happy if it's good too. I hope that it's gonna be kind of like Die Hard Hawkeye, but I don't know.
Die Hard meets I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you so much, everyone in the audience. If you hung out, press the like button. If you shared, thank you so much. If you super chatted, extra thank you. And I will catch you guys tomorrow night on Midnight's Edge for
Bye.
Toxic Femininity. By the way, did you hear me do your thing, the emceeing that one time that you weren't there?
No, I must have missed it.
I was like,
yeah, I got to go back and listen to that then.
it's time
Oh, no,
for
yeah, I did.
Toxic
I got
Femininity.
such a giggle out of that. That was hilarious. Thank you. That was awesome.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Oh shit! I was half awake when I remember hearing it now. Yeah.
You guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.